Buddy, today we're going to talk about how Jeff Bezos' ex-wife is donating $640 million and why, although all the meme pages will say, wow, that's so amazing, everyone should do that, why it's not really as virtuous as people think, because a lot of times billionaires and multimillionaires are using these nonprofits and they're using their donations to manipulate the world, oftentimes in a backwards direction. So we're going to talk about that. God bless you guys. Dream Rare podcast starts now.
It's the Dream Rare podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Today is going to be a pretty laid back show. I'm going to talk about this topic and something that is even more important to me before that. But before we do that, I'm going to wait for people to come in. Hopefully this is live on Rumble. If you guys don't know, rumble.com/dreamrare, all my streams are now live. Rumble has did something that made it easier for me to go live. So that's what it is. Thank you, Rumble. Thank you, Facebook, sort of. Thank you, YouTube. We should be live on all of them. And I'm considering going live on Kick or something. I don't know. It's getting big. But let me take a sip of my coffee if you don't mind. Makes life a little easier. I've been off the coffee for a minute doing lattes, but now I'm back on the coffee. Let's see. What's up, Donna? What's up, Charlotte? What's up, Karen? Appreciate you guys. An0maly something, Kelly, Marla, as always, appreciate you guys. Jacqueline. All right, before I start and talk about the Mackenzie Bezos thing, I just wanted to bring something on the screen real quick, tell you why I'm doing it. And yeah, then we'll get the show started. And then at the end, I'm going to do a question and answer. So this is going to be a super simple show, one topic. But before that, I want to show you guys real quick on the screen. It's dreamrarebiz.com, DREAMRAREBIZ.com. So two things on that website, dreamrarebiz.com. One is a sponsorship. Obviously, nowadays, a lot of people are working with a lot of sponsors. You see it on podcasts, Instagram, etc. I'm looking for ethical companies of things that I like. If you run a business or you know a business, dreamrarebiz.com. I have over 1 billion views, billions of minutes watched, millions of followers, real engagement. If you go to some people's pages that have millions of followers, sometimes they have like 5 comments. You go to my Facebook page, we get hundreds, thousands of comments, thousands of shares. It's all real. It's all a real following. So if you ever wanted to work with me, dreamrarebiz.com. And also I'm doing social media consultation, which is trying to help you grow your brand, your page. I've done all this mostly with zero budget. Of course, I mean, I have a budget to operate and do stuff like that, travel, etc. But as far as like actual marketing of like me spending like hundreds of thousands of dollars on ads to elevate myself, I don't do that. That's not where I spend my money. So I just wanted to help other people with dreamrarebiz.com. If you ever wanted to gain some traction online, that's how to do it. And the reason I'm saying this today, I mean, I've said it before, but I'm making it the first part of my show, is Facebook has demonetized my page possibly for 90 days, which is going to result in me probably not getting tens of thousands of dollars or thousands of dollars. I'm not really sure how long they're going to demonetize me, but they did it because of a 2022 video I did on Kanye West, and they're saying that I did intellectual property. So when everyone else shares a news clip or something they found on social media, it's under the Fair Use Act. But once every 2 years during an election season or whenever they want to shut me up and take my money, all of a sudden it's such a bad offense that they need to take my income, even though I do it every day and everyone does it every day. And all of social media is literally that. Somehow they can track back 2 years and justify a 90-day demonetization shutdown. And I just want to walk you guys through a few things real quick. It's not the first time it happened. In fact, the first time it happened was during 2020, at least for me. And I was, doing well on Facebook and they demonetized my whole page. So what I did in response was not cry or play victim or say, oh my gosh, I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing because I can't make money now. I created dreamrare.com, which is my shop. And that was my way of kind of fighting back. Was I sold these hats and all these things at dreamrare.com. And the reason that really kicked my ass to do it was the fact that I lost pretty much all my income overnight. And I was like, if I don't figure out another way to make money, I'm not going to be able to tell the news. So, in the long run, that ended up being really great for me. And I'm almost grateful that they did that because it got me going in another direction. And this is no different. I'm just switching my business model to work with more sponsors and to do consultation because I enjoy it. I think I'm good at it. I believe I'm one of the best at social media marketing and organic growth, how to make it work with not that much. So that's just what I'm doing because they're constantly doing this to me, and I have to deal with this all the time. And I know it's boring to listen to or talk about, but I'm not going to talk about it too much more. There's a lot of stuff going on with this. One is when they demonetize your main source of income, it's like nearly impossible to run your business. But also Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, I've spoken about it a little bit. They found a way to funnel all the traffic to things that they don't pay users for. And I know a lot of people don't care because it's like, oh, you're just making social media. Who cares? If people aren't getting the money, somebody is. So with me, I never want it to hamstring like my business, and I don't want it to, stop me. So I'm just figuring out a new way. For now, dreamrarebiz.com, but I have some even bigger plans in the future to just remodel my whole business, because I'm just going to be honest with you guys right now. If I wanted to make the number one biggest impact in the world and really get my message out there, I probably wouldn't even do that many podcasts. I would probably focus on the shorter content, those 90-second, 60-second videos, because every time I do those, they get way more views, they get way more shares. I have a huge Instagram page where if I do a video like that, I could get 20,000 shares and 500,000 views like it's nothing. It's easy for me. I have a huge audience and I know how to make that content. The problem is if I get 500,000 views on YouTube or 500,000 views on Facebook, they actually pay you so you can run your business. If you get 500,000 views on an Instagram, you get 5 cents or 10 cents. There's no money in it. So it's not to be selfish and be like, oh, I need so much money. It's just like I can't spend my whole life making videos for 50 cents or I wouldn't be able to make the videos in the first place. So I've noticed recently, like I do Facebooks and YouTube. One, I enjoyed them. I like going live, but Facebook and YouTube tend to actually pay, unlike the short videos. But I don't want to do things that I don't think are the most effective just to run my business. So I'm going to really think about things. Obviously, dreamrarebiz.com there is in the description if you want to check it out for a consultation or a sponsorship. But I'm really going to think about it because this year, I just want to let you guys know before we move forward, I'm trying to live in the present more, enjoy my life. Last year, I always felt like I was 5 steps behind. And, it's not to say I didn't have a good year, because I did in many ways, but I had a lot of issues. I felt like I had health problems. I felt like I was 50 steps behind, and it's no way to live your life. So this year, it's like I'm taking financial losses. I'm taking, a step back to enjoy myself, do what I want to do what I think is right. And then also just kind of like, take 2 steps back to move forward 10 steps. So I'm basically going to visualize what I want to do, what I think is right, and what I think is the most effective, and then figure out how to do it versus just constantly run in circles. Because, the more I run in circles, the more they try to take from me. And I don't think it's random. And I do want to say this real quick. The reason a lot of people sell out or they team up with big media corporations is because that's where all the money is. If you work with a Daily Wire, you probably have a direct connection to Facebook for multiple reasons. One, they're a huge business. Also, I'm guessing they spend a lot of money on Meta and Facebook running ads, which I spend $0. So there's customer service there. With me, it's like they could take tens of thousands of dollars from me and act like I don't exist and just treat me like I'm a garbage can. So a lot of users, they end up going to these media organizations, and I'm not saying them specifically, but at some of these organizations, they can't say what they really want to say because they know, as I've been talking about with the Candace Owens stuff and all of that, that exists at almost every major media organization. So it's like if you work at a certain place that won't let you say what you want to say, but you get connections and you get money there, and you couldn't do it on your own, I view that as one of the forms of control of how to control what people say and what people think. And it is what it is. I'm never going to let that bother me. It's just I'm letting people know today. Dreamrarebiz.com, check it out. And the more people that support there or buy stuff at the shop, the less I really care about this stuff. But I see the writing on the wall, and I've been already trying to build my business model outside of the current system, because it's not that it's not working. It's worked for me fine. I can just see where they're going, and I know that in the long run, they're going to try to make me either join a company that's going to censor what I say, or try to suck all the money out of it so that I don't have the time and resources to make the content I do. And then they'll funnel that money to somebody that'll play ball. So I'm not, I'm very, I wouldn't say petty, but petty. And I'm very competitive. So I'm not going to allow that to happen. It's not like I'm giving up or crying or anything. It's just, it is what it is. They do this to me all the time, and it's totally unfair, and they have no customer service. So hopefully they reverse it. But in the meantime, dreamrarebiz.com, those are 2 things I'm trying to build up: sponsorships and also a consultation. And for now, that's what I'm doing. Within the next year, I might partner with friends and people that I trust that are willing to possibly invest, and I might do something even bigger because I'm not just going to get steamrolled. I'm not going to get run over, and I don't want to have to worry about stuff like this because like I said, in my, in a perfect world, I would be making a lot of short content because I think it's the most effective, and I think that it changes the most minds, and I think that it reaches the most people. I just don't have the time or resources to do that right now, and I don't have the time or resources to do a lot of things. So it's nobody's fault, but I'm just saying I'm really thinking about this stuff because I don't want to be a hamster on a wheel. I want to take a few steps back, take some financial losses, and then move forward and kind of just build something even bigger and greater. So it's part of it. DreamRareBiz.com. Facebook taking away my income is like totally devastating to my business. But it is what it is. I'm not even going to spend much time even when it happens, I don't even like think to myself, oh, this is so bad. I just think, okay, this is a blessing in disguise to get me to do what I need to do in other categories. And the same way the first time they did it, I created my hat business at dreamrare.com. So it's like, it is what it is. I consider it motivation and a blessing in disguise, but just letting you guys know, you could check that out if you want to support or get help with your social media. With that being said, I'm going to do how else to support me. I'll talk about it later, but dreamrarelinks.com. I mean, there's a lot of ways. I have my shop. I have my Patreon. Even my Patreon, though. I mean, I guess I'll talk about this real quick since you brought it up. Then I'll do a question and answer at the end. I wish I had more of a structure with Patreon because I know people support on Patreon. I have hundreds of people there. And sometimes people are like, oh, I didn't like that video, or, oh, you didn't do enough. And it's like, I'm only by myself, and it's not, if you pay me $5 a month or $10 a month or whatever, you probably don't want to hear that. You're like, I pay you, do what I want you to do. And I'm not trying to slack off because I feel bad anytime people send me money and I don't deliver, but it's like I'm doing 1,000 things by myself and it's just not sustainable. So I'm trying to figure out how to not do that so I don't drive myself exhausted. Because it's like, if I had a team of 5 people or even one person helping me, it'd be easy to do more stuff on Patreon. But when it's just me and I'm the producer and I'm the lighter and I'm the manager and I'm answering emails and I'm doing everything myself, and I'm it's like hard for me to figure out what I'm even doing. So I'm taking a step back this year to restructure and do it properly. But I got my Patreon, I got Dream Biz, etc. Check that out. So let me just get the number right for the story. And then at the end, if you guys have any other questions about that, I'm going to stick around for like a half hour and just do like a whole question and answer. So Jeff Bezos' wife, let me just get her name is Mackenzie Scott, but I call her Jeff Bezos' wife because she's most famously known for being Jeff Bezos' wife. And she has all that money because she was Jeff Bezos' wife. So, I'm sure there's some people that'll be like, oh, that's misogynistic. Her name is Mackenzie Scott. Listen, yeah, she didn't get all that money being Mackenzie. She got that money being Bezos. I'm just kidding, but I'm sure she helped him gain the wealth too. Anyway, jokes aside, Mackenzie Scott has donated $640 million to 361 nonprofit groups. And I see that picture of her being pretty much mass promoted on all the mainstream meme pages and news pages. And a lot of people, not all, but a lot of people are like, wow, that's so amazing. Wow, everyone should do that. Every billionaire should be doing this. And it's like, listen, a lot of billionaires donate a lot of money. Bill Gates does it. The Clinton Foundation did stuff. I would say like Warren Buffett donates a lot of money. And I know it sounds good on this. Like everybody always thinks like, oh, just that's how you be a good person. You donate money. But I've always said this, even for myself, if I'm going to donate, who am I donating to? It's good to do research. I'm sure she did. But it's like a lot of these billionaires, they spend the money to socially engineer or engineer society to do things in the direction of their politics. And often their politics are the exact antithesis of my religion, sometimes my ethnicity, just because they're always promoting to just like biased things that help other ethnicities without mine. And I'm not saying you can't help other ethnicities, but I'm saying we live in a world where the principles and tenets of the religious text that I follow and that many follow, we're being told it's hateful. Meanwhile, they're spending $1 billion to promote, the sexuality of young children, which is insane to most sane people, regardless of your political views. Someone said it's a tax thing, that too, but also I was going through a lot of her stuff, and a lot of it was, I would say almost all of it was a left-wing skew. It was LGBTQ rights. It was, black this, black that. And it's like, you know, it's nice if that's really what she's doing and she thinks it's best for society. But I see a lot of these organizations as socially manipulating things in a direction that favors the liberal mindset, and it doesn't actually improve these communities. I mean, think about how much money has been spent in the last 30, 40 years in certain communities. And I'm not saying nothing was done and no one was helped, because obviously it was. You could find the list if you search hard enough. It's all over the news today. But in general, you look at some of these neighborhoods and the neighborhoods are not getting better, and people are complaining even more now, saying it's even worse. I'm even poorer. It's even more dangerous. It's even grimier. It's even slimier. Like, someone come help us. And it's like, well, billions of dollars were spent helping these people. So something must be going wrong if people are still complaining, and there's still racism, as they say, and there's still inequality. So where's all the money going? Like, what is it really doing? You'd have to go to each individual organization to read what they say they're doing. But there's a fundamental difference, I would say, in what I believe is right and what they're doing. For an example, I don't like to, although I am personally religious, I don't like to get overly religious on my show because it's a news show. I'm not a pastor. At the same time, I do think certain principles built not just this country, but a lot of functional societies, because throughout time, not every society is functional. Not every society is peaceful. You hear these horror stories about Haiti barbecuing human beings, and another country just mass slaughters. And, this type of stuff has happened in human history. So you have to ask yourself, why did that happen there? And why did that happen there? But for these couple hundred reasons, like, why was there so much intellectual thought coming out of Greece? And, all these there's a difference, and sometimes the difference is ideology. And if you read George Washington or Socrates or Marcus Aurelius or, these leaders, you could see the way they thought. A lot of it is extremely wise. A lot of it is extremely self-awareness and self-accountability. And my personal belief is that, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. I'm not going to read them until the end. So if you want a super chat, I would say just save it till the end, or I'm not going to read it. But thank you for the B-baller. I would say, I think certain ideologies build great societies and certain ideologies destroy societies. There's a reason I'm talking about this. I'm going to get back to the Mackenzie Scott, because we have different philosophy. I do believe that, basic principles of, like, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill, being good to your neighbor, being a good person. I think that builds great societies, but also self-awareness and self-reflection and wisdom and strength and these things that so many great leaders have had all over. There's, Asians that thought of these principles, and like the Tao Te Ching, you have Marcus Aurelius, you obviously have the Bible. And I'm not, for those who are Christian, we're going to say, don't you dare compare anything to the Bible. I'm not saying it's the same. I'm just saying there has been wisdom and knowledge and strength and self-awareness and self-accountability all throughout the world in different areas. And I personally believe that that's one of the key tenets that builds a great society. So when you have liberals that'll give billions of dollars to these organizations for LGBTQ, which in my opinion is against Christianity. I'm not saying, oh, if you help a gay person, you're not Christian. It's not what I'm saying. I'm just like, I'm reading what they're doing. It's not like they're saying, be nice to your neighbor. It's like they're donating to specific causes to push medication on gay people, which it's like, I don't believe in that. I don't know, pushing pharmaceuticals on homosexuals. Like that's what they're doing. And I'm reading it and I'm like, that's how you help LGBTQ plus, by shoving pharmaceuticals down their throats. And nobody knows this stuff because they're just like, oh, that's so nice, she's helping the gays. And you're like, read the damn stuff. Like, I just thought like homosexual and pharmaceutical, those words just like flow together. So I had to put them together. But in general, it's like, I don't believe that's helping them or anybody. And I don't believe that pushing no accountability and no self-awareness is good for people. In fact, I've had Chad Jackson on, who was in the documentary Uncle Tom 2. And he's talked about, and we've talked about, the difference in the 1900s and late 1800s, but I think early 1900s, W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington. These are two black leaders. W.E.B. Du Bois, in my view, was a fake leftist, liberal, socialist, communist, sneaky, co-opted, owned character. And I believe that Booker T. Washington was a good American. Obviously, that's my perspective, but I just said it. And Booker T. Washington was all about self-accountability and self-awareness, not playing the victim, building your own communities and building stuff that the government couldn't own. And W.E.B. Du Bois, in my view, is the exact opposite. It was all victim mentality. It was all big government. It was all destroying things in the Black community and then saying they were helping, in my view. And it doesn't work. So that's the point I'm trying to get to, is like, if Mackenzie Bezos donates $500 million, but all of these organizations are going off of principles and ideologies and philosophies that I believe have failed all over the world, in America and Europe. They're failing. Like the ideology of Mackenzie Scott is failing in Portland. It's failing in Seattle. It's failing in Minneapolis. It's failing in Chicago. It's failing in Texas. It's failing in Louisiana. It's failing in Florida. It's failing all over the world, and it's failing in every liberal city. Yet I'm supposed to think that she's super virtuous because she's pushing. I read all of this stuff. Not a single one of them was Christian. Not a single one of them looked conservative. Not a single one of them was for all human beings. And just like, I guess some of them were. And there was a few that I read that were not that bad. And like Alaska, getting rid of toxic stuff, that seemed fine. But I would say like 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 that I was reading, it was all left wing for one race or for one sexuality. And, pushing, in my view, against the principles of the Bible, against the principles that made Marcus Aurelius a successful leader, against the tenets of Tao Te Ching, which I believe is one of the greatest Eastern philosophy books ever written. And everybody, the normie take would be just like, oh, wow, all you have to do is give money to something and it'll just work really well. And there's an old saying, everybody knows it, but it's like, if you teach a man to fish, he could fish. Oh, I just messed it up. Give a man a fish, you could feed him for a day. Teach him to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime. But some of these left-wing organizations, they think that they're teaching someone how to fish, but they're really teaching someone how to not fish and teaching someone how to snap their fishing rod in half and dance around with it. So it's like they think they're teaching men to fish, but they're really teaching men the opposite. I know that was like completely butchered, but that's just my failed analogy. I think most people get it. No, Tao Te Ching, not Chao Chi Ching. Tao Te Ching. It's a book by Lao Tzu. But anyway, it's not going to work. Like this idea that you could just funnel money into the South Side of Chicago and make a functional society, I don't believe it. And no one believes it because no one's been able to do it. They've been trying to give money there for a long time. You could spend $20 trillion in the South Side of Chicago and it'll never be safe and clean and nice if there's not accountability. There needs to be self-accountability, self-awareness, and a moral law that's understood. If not, it's not going to work. So, I could talk about this a lot and I might, but I think people should reevaluate when someone just gives money, because when you're rich, people are like, oh, just give your money, then you're a nice person. To who? A lot of billionaires understand social engineering and they do these sort of donations to mold their worldview, to turn America into San Francisco, to turn Africa into San Francisco. That's what they're essentially doing. They're turning everyone into San Francisco. That's their philosophy. It doesn't even work there. And now you're exporting that to Africa and America and saying you're helping Black people. How? I don't see it. I believe that in order to have a functional society, you need moral law. You need a moral authority, but most importantly, you need moral people that follow rules and laws. And, self-accountability is just one of the most important things. And, that's lacking heavily, especially in certain groups. But in general, it's like they're spending billions of dollars to teach people not to have accountability, to play the victim, to be immoral and to be proud of being immoral and to blame someone else for being immoral. And it's like, it's not going to work. It's not working anywhere. It's not working in the cities. And it's, in my opinion, it's not virtuous. It's not nice. It's not helpful. It's only further burying a lot of these things. And, the further we dig, the harder it's going to be to flip it around. I do believe that America, there's even certain quotes, I don't have them off the top, but from the founding fathers where they explain, these rules, it only works with a moral and religious population. It's something along those lines. I'm probably paraphrasing it wrong, but I say this to libertarians all the time. Your libertarian ideas would work around a bunch of libertarian bros in New Hampshire. But if you brought these libertarian principles to the South Side of Chicago or one of the most dangerous, gangs, it's not, they're not going to listen to you. It's not going to work. Over time, it's still not going to work. Like, you need a moral population. And if you don't have a moral population, then unfortunately, I think you need heavy law of moral people to crack down on the law. And if you lose both of those things, then you just have a third world country, which is seems like it's slowly happening to America, not totally, but you know, a little slowly. I had Renato Moicano on. I don't know if people listen to that episode because it was a UFC episode. A lot of people tend not to hear those ones, but he's really smart. He's from Brazil. And I kept asking him because he was he was like a mix of libertarian and conservative. He was very libertarian fiscally, but he was conservative with the police, which is pretty much exactly how I am. So that's why I had him on my show. I love his thoughts. But he was saying the problem in Brazil, the reason it's crappier than America in his view, he lives there or he's from there. He said it's because people don't respect the police. Once the police aren't the strongest force on the ground, there's going to be another strong force on the ground, and it's not going to be better than the police. I'm not a huge like police fanatic by any means, but like talk to somebody that comes from a country that's way crappier than America, and crime is way more rampant than America. Why is that the case? He said it's because nobody respects the police. He goes, in Florida, people respect the police, even though some don't, most do. In Brazil, it's like they're a joke. Nobody respects them. And then it's just like lawlessness. So, I think we could learn from other countries. That was cool having him on to provide that analysis. But I'll just wrap it up. And, I'm just going to be firm and non-politically correct here. I'm not judging who people are individually, but the less Christian American gets, the shittier it gets, in my opinion, over the last 50 years. Like, it just keeps getting less Christian. People are donating to everything that is the opposite of Christianity. It's the opposite of morality. It's the opposite of conservatism. It's the opposite of self-accountability and self-awareness. And they think that they could elevate certain races like successfully by doing that. And it's only making race relations worse, crime worse, the country worse, the economy worse. And to be honest, it's only making more people suspicious of certain racial groups because of all of what they're doing. So Mackenzie Bezos, in my view, not her fault, or Mackenzie Scott, I'm sure she's done some nice stuff, but this money, I believe, is only going to have a negative impact on the country and the world. And then there's going to be some other liberal billionaire who does the same thing in their attempt to essentially turn the entire world into San Francisco, which they don't even want to live in anymore because San Francisco sucks now. So it doesn't work in their neighborhood. It doesn't work where all their tech businesses are, but yeah, it'll definitely work in the inner cities. It'll definitely work in Alaska. It'll definitely work in Africa. It won't. It's not going to. And simply putting money to non-profits that are sneaky and dishonest is not virtuous or helpful to humanity, in my view. With that being said, I'm going to just do a question and answer. So I got some extra time. There weren't a lot of news stories that really interested me. So if there were any news stories that you wanted to talk about, I'll talk about pretty much anything, but I would like to stick to the news, but it could be unrelated if it's important. Let me know what you think, because I know there's been 30 things happening, and I really just go to what inspires me. If I can't get inspired by a news story, then I can't like force myself anymore to just cover it because I think people care, for the better or worse. Some people like that about me. Others maybe perhaps wish I did things that I used to do, but I can't bring myself to do it anymore. So I'd rather just do it in this format. Lisa said, this thought talk is good, An0maly. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate it. I mean, I thought it was an interesting conversation, so that's why I did it. Do I root for the Denver Nuggets? Not really. I mean, I like Jokic. I like Jamal Murray too. Honestly, I do like the Nuggets. I like all the players. I think like Michael Porter Jr. is really cool too. I like them to do well. I'm a Knicks fan, but like, yeah, I'm not like a super fan of the Nuggets, but I think they're good guys over there, good players. So for sure, they're one of my more favorite teams now. Jamal Murray likes the UFC a lot, which is cool. Jokic is Jokic. He's the man. Michael Porter was speaking out against lockdown. So, what's not to like over there? A lot of winners. Someone said they're saying intermittent fasting causes heart disease. Yeah, I'm not an expert of health, but they're saying a lot of things cause heart disease now, and a lot of things do cause heart disease, but I don't know if I would say intermittent fasting does. It seems like they want a scapegoat for all the products that they push that they'll never admit have side effects, even though all the commercials say they have side effects, but whatever. Let me read. Someone said the church is captured. That's why we are in the situation. It was planned. Yeah, I would say like 90 something percent of churches are captured, including perhaps the most powerful church would be the Vatican, I would assume, unless you know of a more powerful one. Um, didn't he come out recently and say that like anti-vaxxerism is like like, anybody who doesn't want to get a vaccine is so crazy, like it, open bordered Pope, like that's not the Bible doesn't say to open the border of the United States of America. It's like they'll paraphrase just because Jesus was nice, like, that people use this example all the time because it's the best one. It's like leaving your door wide open in a crappy neighborhood and being like, I love everyone. It's like just because you love everyone, like it's not nice to your family to leave your door wide open in a bad neighborhood. That's not kindness. Like weakness is not kindness. Being naive is not kind. And this idea that the Pope is going to try to brainwash Americans into thinking that is diabolical. So yeah, I would say the churches have been like wildly captured. It's quite alarming. Is my book going to be out soon? I kind of had to put a halt on that. Like I said, I got so much stuff going on that I can't even think to even do that. Including my taxes this year, which I have to work on soon. So it's like I will finish that book eventually. I'm proud of what I've done, but I'm pulled in 1,000 different directions right now, and just even the thought of getting back to that book stresses me out. So I apologize, but the goal is by next year to have a more fluent business model. I want to say this real quick though. I'm grateful that I'm so busy. It's a great thing. For a lot of my life, I wasn't busy and no one gave a shit about me. So it's like I do appreciate the fact that I'm too busy for certain things, but I have to figure out how to streamline it because I do. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just like I can't even spend 10 minutes anymore doing something like that, like unless I have like a real vision. So someone said churches don't teach the Bible, they think laws are done. Yeah, I can't speak on all churches. There's a lot of great churches, there's a lot of weird churches. They always want you to like donate to some country in some sneaky political way, but whatever. Would I like to go on Joe Rogan's podcast? Have I been in touch? People always ask me that. I would love to go on Joe Rogan's podcast. I consider it a huge opportunity. I've met Joe Rogan. I've spoken with him, at his comedy store with my buddy for 30 minutes, 20 minutes. He's messaged me. He follows me on Instagram. I've mentioned that I'd come on. He didn't respond, but he's the most popular podcast in the world and everyone wants to go on. So if Joe Rogan's inspired me, if he's inspired to have me on at some point, I would be grateful. If he's not, I have no hard feelings towards him for that. What's meant to be will be. So I'm not I'm in no rush, but yeah, I would love to, but I'm not going to force it or push it. It's been requested and he's probably been asked that by everybody. So it's all good. Someone said any time frames for my new line of merch. Also, that I'm not sure. I have to deal with distributors and samples and figure out the logistics of it. In some cases, like the legality of certain things, like it's So I'm not sure, but I'm definitely working on it. Someone said, yeah, it sucks when some don't respond. Not really, honestly. Like I don't care that much. Like I don't, I'm not this year. I'm not chasing things. You understand? It's like when you always want something else, or you just become miserable. So it's like I'm grateful for what's going on. I'm focused on the present moment. I didn't even care when he said no, because honestly, being on it comes with pros and cons, and attention's not always great. Like everybody wants attention until they get bad attention, then it's like, so when it's right, it'll happen. If it's not, I don't even consider it a bad thing. It just is what it is. Did I hear that NYPD arrested a homeowner instead of the squatters? I did hear that, and it's insane. And yeah, there's a few stories I've seen like that are just disgraceful. So New York City is just I avoid it. I avoid New York City. I avoid LA. I haven't been there in years. I don't want to go. I avoid San Francisco. I think they're demonic cities at this point. Like nothing about them makes me want to go there. But I feel bad. I have a lot of friends from there, born and raised, and it's not right. So, it's dark times. go on Theo Vaughn's podcast. These things I have to be invited, so I would love to, but someone said I asked a Scottish guy about cloud seeding when he was frightened disabled people about flood warm weather. He told me not to answer. The way you wrote that just confused me unless I read it wrong. But Jenny said 10 CHF. Could you maybe explain someday how you started listening? My son does not listen at all when he's not interested. Yeah, hold on. First, I just want to see what currency that is. CHF to US dollars. It's like 1 to 1. Okay. A Swiss franc. I'm out here getting Swiss francs. Thank you, Switzerland lady. Thank you, Jenny. God bless you. How I started listening to my mom, are you saying? I would say I didn't. I didn't listen probably my whole life until I hit my like late 20s. So, I don't think I was a good listener, but I think that the morals that she instilled upon me kind of hit me in my late 20s. So, I'm a bad example. I was not an obedient kid. I didn't listen to teachers. I didn't listen to my mom. I didn't listen to anybody. But the you know I would say instilling those values eventually, hopefully, one day they will realize that you were right and they were wrong. And that's what happened to me. I was just too young to understand it at the time. So appreciate you. I call you Swiss lady, but it's just funny. Someone's laughing about that. Yeah. Switzerland lady. No, thank you. David said, you're a decent guy, cubed by dictatorship, private currency of your time. After listening, think for yourself. Okay. Thank you, David, for that. Yeah, you think I'm cubed by dictatorship and private currency? I'm cubed? Curbed? Cubed? I'm in a cube. I'm stuck in a cube. Welcome to the Truman Show, featuring yours truly. I'm stuck in a cube, apparently, accordingly, and only a man named David can remove me from this cube of dictatorship that I'm allegedly stuck in. I wasn't aware, but can't rule it out these days. I've heard crazier things. Someone said, right or wrong, a smart child knows their parent are in charge. Yeah. I know the currency cornered your time because I went to check what the currency was. You think I'm cubed by the currency? Dude, I just think it's funny because the one guy gave me like not shekels. I just think the word shekel is funny, but he gave me like nickels, shekels, whatever. And it was like the amount of money was like 175 or 179, and I just thought it was funny. So now anytime someone gives me a currency, it's just interesting to look up what the currency is if it's not US dollars, because I'm like, what is that? So I like you're like way overlooking it. It's like, dude, because you check the currency, you're curbed by authoritarianism. It's like, all right, bro, let's not. It's not that kind of show. But where's the audience laugh? That's a gasp. But I'll get to the laugh when I say something funny. Someone said weaponized migration. I do think so. An0maly, when are you and Owen gonna talk again? I'm guessing you're talking about Owen Benjamin, right? I don't know. When the time is right. He's doing his thing, I'm doing mine. I'm sure there'll be a time where we chat again, but I don't know. Nothing on the books. When do we get to meet? Well, you spelled meat like meat, so I don't know. Hopefully I'll like go on tour one day, but someone said Rabbi Barclay just wrote an article about your shekel comment. No, he did. The word shekel just hits funny. Like nickel is also a funny word. Like just the way it sounds, like it's funnier to say like shekel or nickel. Like you're throwing nickels at me. You're throwing shekels at me. Rather I don't know. Just certain words you just want to throw out there more. But yeah, I do actually. Now that you said it, I do apologize for that anti-Semitism, and I will go on an apology tour where people will decide my fate and then pass speech laws to say that they're not deciding my fate. That sounds fair. Schroyer? No, I think he was talking about Owen Benjamin, but I don't know. Maybe he was talking about Owen Schroyer. And both of them I've talked to, so I don't know when will talk to them again. Nothing on the books. What did I say about shekels? It's not important. Someone sent me Swiss currency, and this just threw off the whole show. It's fine. Like someone said, "Okay, bye." She's like throwing a fit. Dude, I look at the currency one time to check out how much the Swiss francs are worth, and everybody just turns on me. It's like, all right, dude. I just thought it was a funny moment. Like, I guess it wasn't though. I guess it was like the defeat of my entire reality. But well, let's get back to some questions. It's a Q&A. What do I think about the Boeing whistleblower committing suicide? It's suspicious. And then I see people saying, oh, that's a trap to get you to do this and give the government control of the auto. I was like, I don't know what to think of it, but I'm not pumped knowing how crappy things are. And I don't know if it's overblown or not, but I don't need a news organization to show me that the quality of things in this world are starting to get crappier because, I think it's a lot of things, but I just think people don't care anymore. People are on their phones. People don't even like each other. They don't want to be there. There's certain rules to get certain people in, even though they're not really qualified. And all of these things are contributing, I feel like, to the downfall of a lot of different things. So, you would hope that that's not true and that they have like computers that make sure that it's not super crappy job being done on Boeing airlines because everybody flies and it's creepy to think about. But yeah, I don't know. David said, you think slavery's funny? Here's your prison money. Bro, you're taking the currency thing like way too seriously. Like, but whatever, dude. What do I think about the recall of Gavin Newsom? Do I think they'll cheat again if the recall doesn't go through? I don't agree with the narrative that California has to cheat. Like, this is the problem with Republicans, in my view. Do Democrats cheat sometimes? Absolutely. Do Democrats have to cheat all the time? They don't. Like, this idea, in my view, is very toxic. Not like toxic masculinity, but it's just wrong. Republicans think they win if it's fair. Like people don't like you. Like California, I live in a conservative area, but most of it's liberal. The cities have more people, so like they don't need to cheat to get Gavin Newsom elected because more people vote for Gavin Newsom. And if you go outside of your echo chamber, you could see it. It seems like anyone under the age of 30, like 8 out of 10 of them are liberal, especially in the cities. Like they're not in the conservative areas, but in the cities, all the kids are liberal. So I feel like, Republicans win a lot of states, but California, it's just, it's gone through such a demographic and political shift that Democrats control it, and Republicans have to like cope out and say like, oh, we must have got cheated. Like, you're not getting cheated, you're just losing. So, once you realize that most people here don't agree, that's when you could get back on the horse to start winning again. But it's going to take some, in order to fix the problem, you have to admit that it's happening. This is why I'm not a huge fan of like Carrie Lake and Mike Lindell. I'm not saying that there's not some election fraud, but their whole gist is like, oh, we won all 50 states. And it's like, it's all this hopium, fake nonsense because these people lack such self-awareness to realize that everything's not a Mar-a-Lago Trump rally and everybody doesn't like them and everybody doesn't vote for them. And it's never going to change until people realize that it's happening. So I don't think they're going to cheat in California because they don't have to, because it's mostly Democrat. Adam Schiff's going to win by 20 points and they're not going to have to cheat. And Gavin Newsom will win regardless of whether the recall goes through. And it's never going to change until people admit that it's happening. And this is what I will say, and I'm not like blaming anybody, but it's like you have like some conservative parents that'll be like, they're cheating California. And then they have 3 kids and all their kids are liberal. And it's like, can you not do the math? Like, you're sitting there watching Mike Lindell yelling like, yeah, they're rigging California. And then your 3 kids are voting for, Adam Schiff or whatever, that horrific Katie Porter. It's like, what part, like, it feels, in my view, like conservative parents are spending too much time like drooling over Mike Lindell and not enough time realizing that their kids almost overwhelmingly like don't agree with them and don't respect them. I'm not trying to be rude, but it's like, I've literally seen people with like 3 liberal kids be like, they're cheating. And it's like, no, your household is now voting liberal because your kids don't like you. And like Mike Lindell's not going to change that. So, maybe that was a little harsh, but it's like, that whole like vibe, it just went right over my head. Um, no matter how much California fails to fix any of their problems, they still vote for Democrat. I'm not saying it's completely unfixable, but I do think it's kind of past the point of no returns. My kids have to listen to you. That would be nice. Hey, let me give you an example. Like Texas, and this is why demographics do matter. Like it's not like, oh, you're racist. It's like it's statistics, math, patterns. These are all real. Let me give you an example. Texas used to be more Republican. Now it's almost 50-50. Austin is not going Republican. Are they cheating in Austin? They don't have to. Are they cheating in Houston? They don't have to. What changed about Houston? As the demographics change, as the religious demographic change, and as the racial demographics change, the cities change. And that's the truth. If the cities were 100% white, I'm not saying I'm asking for them to be, but it's like a Republican would win just demographically. But once, white people are the minority in the cities, then they go Democrat. I'm not trying to be hateful or anything. It's like the Democrats know this, and that's why Elon Musk says that's what they're doing. Because it is what they're doing. It's like they know who votes for them statistically, and Republicans don't seem to understand that. So it's like, California people reference Ronald Reagan as ruining California. Ronald Reagan is one of, in my view, I'm not going to say one of the worst presidents, but like I don't think he was who he pretended to be or who he talked like he was. I'm not saying he was a bad guy, but he did mass amnesty. And from that point on, California has never been Republican and probably never will be again. So instead of admitting that, people just cope out and they're like, oh, people are secretly Republican. It's like they're not though. In other states they are, but not in the state where he did mass amnesty. And now, the demographic shift is so severe in California that statistically, like people don't vote Republican. I mean, that's what's happening. So there, like everything, once you get to what's really happening and who's doing it and why, and you really tell the truth, not in a hateful way, but just in an honest way, none of this stuff that Republicans are talking about matters. It's literally like controlled opposition babble blabber to just get people to like be on a sports team. It's like, did you see what Carrie Lake said? It's like, who cares? She's not talking about anything important. Like it's all just like surface level, like sports team, hoorah, hoorah, rah, to do nothing. But that's not like a popular take. So it's not like Houston used to be Republican. It never will be again. Like Austin used to be Republican. Texas used to win elections by 20, 30 points, and now Ted Cruz can barely beat a little socialist skateboarder. Like, why? It's not cheating. They're not cheating. They're rigging every aspect of the system, and Republicans are letting them do it or not aware of it or selling out, and nobody wants to talk about it. So, it just is what it is. And I would say that Republicans are working directly for the people who are doing it. They're taking money from the people. They're passing laws for it. Like they're in on it in the most diabolical, deceptive way, and nobody can seem to figure it out. Although people are starting to figure it out, but it's like, all I could do is say what's going on. I can't really like change people's minds in mass. Some people will get it, some people won't. If I could change the mind of everyone, everyone wouldn't be liberal, but that's not the country we live in. Someone said Texas is turning blue because New York and California Democrats moved there because they couldn't afford to live there anymore. Partially, but I would say mostly demographics. Like, do you think if and I'm not saying completely, because there are states that are still Democrat that are like, that have different demographics. But I would say that's definitely part of it. But also a large part of it would be like the people that they're letting into the country and purposely doing so to shift the voting demographics and voting patterns. Someone said the Republicans set up the apparatus that the Dems are used for cheating. I mean, when you figure out what's going on, I'm not going to do this again because I've said it so many times, but all you have to look is at the pharmaceutical thing, and that's a metaphor for everything the Republicans do. The Republicans fund them. The Republicans buy the doses. They give them tens of billions of dollars, and then the Democrats use it against you, and then they say they didn't do it. It's the same thing with everything. The same people, the same donors, the same organizations, the same speech laws, the same causes. Republicans are in on all of it. Trump is a puppet. He's going to do nothing. In fact, they might want him to lose. They might want him to win. It's a total distraction. So people can yell and wave their Trump flags, and that's why the elites think people are cattle. I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's like that's just what's going on. So, once you realize that, like, Republicans, they're pretending to try to stop them while they're doing literally everything for the people that hate you. So if you can't figure it out by now, then I don't know what results people expect to get, but that's just what's going on. Some people don't really want to hear or believe the truth until it affects them. That's definitely true. Someone said I am part cow, though. It's understandable. I'm an animal too when I play sports. I'm an animal off the backboards. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to rebound and stuff. So it's okay to be a little bit of an animal, but just try not to be 100% cattle or sheep, because then they're going to lead you to the slaughter. Someone said, do I think it would be better if Trump dropped out? No, not specifically. I don't think he's the problem. I just think he's a false solution. So I don't think him dropping out or him not dropping out, like I don't see that as he's like the main issue. I just think he's a character in the plot to give conservatives and Republicans a false sense of like they have a horse in the race. Someone said Trump will probably go to jail. Then we have Biden. I don't think Trump's going to go to jail. I don't think they can. I don't think most of these things will go through. They're definitely trying to suck his money, though. But here's the thing, too. Like I said this with Ben Shapiro, and Ben Shapiro made a video and he said, I'm raising money for Donald Trump. And everyone said, oh, Ben finally learned. Ben didn't learn. He's raising money for Trump to get Trump to do what he wants him to do, which is things that benefit him and his people and all these things that he says you can't talk about, even though obviously that's Ben's number one agenda and everybody knows it. So it's the same thing with all these financial things. I don't think Trump's going to go to jail. I think they're just going to suck a bunch of money out of them. And if you don't have money, you have to go get your money somewhere else. And if you're now down $500 million, you're going to try to make that $500 million back. And Trump can easily make it since he's a leading figure in politics. So now that they're sucking money out of him, he's going to take even more donor money. He's going to take even more sneaky money and more, money from the corporations and the big wigs. And then he's going to be a shell of who he was in 2018, which was a shell of who he said he would be in 2015. That's what I think is going on. I don't think they're going to throw him in prison, but they will suck his money away. So he has to go get it somewhere else. And that, I'm not saying on a way smaller scale, but I think that's what they do to me and other social media influencers is they think if they shut off your money and shut off what you like, then you'll go somewhere and do what they tell you. And that is what they're doing. So it's like if they can, if they could drain your money, you have to get money somewhere else. If they successfully drained all my money or all of my business, then I'd have to go work somewhere else. And then I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. And, people who are haters would be like, oh, finally, An0maly has to get a real job. Chris Cuomo's still going to be able to do what he does because Patrick Bet-David hired him to propagandize and brainwash Republicans and melt their brains and fry their IQs and control the opposition. So, it's like Don Lemon will find a way to do it. Like, Rachel Maddow's still going to get paid. So it's not like I'm fine. They're not going to do that to me because I wouldn't allow it. But I'm just saying it's like when they take the money from people that are not sold out, they just redirect it to people who will sell out. And then they run millions of dollars of ads. Like people don't. And this is why I'm going to put it on the screen real quick. But I'm gonna just flex a little bit with facts. Because hold on one second, I'm gonna just throw it up there. This is for like my consultation stuff, dreamrarebiz.com. I have 1.6 million followers on Facebook. I get billions of views, billions of minutes watched. Like my engagement's bigger than all of these people. Like a lot of these people have millions of followers and they have no engagement because it's not real. I don't spend money advertising my stuff. They're spending, some of these people, you're like, oh, they're so famous, they're doing so well. How much are they spending in advertising? Is this all organic traffic on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram? Mine's organic traffic. There's a lot of this stuff is AstroTurf. They're paying millions of dollars in ads to elevate them and make them look like they're more famous than they are in hopes that they could get that money from sponsors and someone else to then make the money back and then be that big, which is fine. I'm not against running advertisements, but really nobody can mess with me in this. I don't know a single person. I know they exist on YouTube and there's some pretty big social media influencers, but for the most part, you're not going to find very many people that have been around as long as I am, that have reached as many people, that has as many followers, that doesn't pay for it. You know what I'm saying? That did it organically, that really got millions of shares. I have videos with millions of shares that I spend $0 advertising. These people will spend $100,000 promoting a piece of content and get 15,000 shares. So, that's what's going on. Like if someone has $300 million and the other person has zero, and Facebook can shut their money off, and then that person pays $50 million in ads and buys up certain stuff, then they're going to edge them out of the market. You know what I'm saying? The same way that Facebook will try to buy Snapchat or whatever, or eventually like oh, that's good, I'll buy it. So, money talks at the end of the day, because if you can't compete, they can either just buy you, kick you out, and then buy what you had, or basically edge you out of the market. That's what they're doing. So with Trump, they're taking his money to then give him money back to control him, and he'll do it because he already did it. And with me, it's like they're trying to, in my view, suck the money out of any angle to stop me from doing what I'm doing, so they could try to replace me with someone else that's like a clone, not literally a clone, but it's like, some little sidekick that's not smart or honest enough to ask real questions, or that feels controlled because they're not, they have no leverage over their boss. So it's like, they basically benefit from just being like a little mini me. So someone said, that's what I'm afraid of. Well, have no fear. Candace has been saying this a lot, and I think it's true. She says, I don't fear all this stuff. I only fear God. Like, you should fear doing the wrong thing more than you fear doing the right thing. The problem in America and the problem in the world is people fear doing the right thing. They're afraid to do the right thing. They're afraid of the consequences of doing the right thing, from peers, from the pharmaceutical industry, from this group, from that group. And that's why everyone does the wrong thing. You should be afraid of doing the wrong thing. I'm afraid. I'm afraid when I do the wrong thing. I'm afraid when I sin. I'm afraid when I make mistakes. I'm not afraid for doing the right thing. It could be a little scary, but like people, like it's not good to do the wrong thing for money or deals. And that's what everyone does. Everyone's out. Like my whole life, it's gotten better now, which is why I've been talking about it. But like my whole life, it's like people look at you like you're in a psychopath when you're like, I'm going to do this morally and make less money and try to take it the long path. They're like, what are you, stupid? Sell out, get women, drugs. Like that's how people act. They're like, you don't want to sell out. You don't want the big thing. And it's like, I don't know, not if I can't do it the way I want to do it. And 9 out of 10 people look at you like you're crazy. And that's why the world is crumbling. So, I wouldn't be afraid of these things. Like I'm not panicking here. I'm not in fear. Like I have it under control. I've made not all good decisions, but I've made a lot of good decisions because when you're broke for 7, 8 years of your life, but you've never missed rent. I never missed rent when I was broke. When I was living paycheck to paycheck, I always figured out a way to pay rent, and I always figured out a way to get a job. So I'm not gonna I'm not the type of person that's just gonna squander this opportunity. I'm not afraid. I'm just dealing with it as it comes. And I know they want me to be flustered. I know they want me to feel that's what they want to do. They want to replace people like me with others, but they can't. So I'm way too competitive and I'm way too established. And there's definitely moves they could make to undermine what I'm doing, but I'm going to adapt, and I'm going to look at it like a blessing because once they do this, they could do it at any time, and you got to build your business model around it. So that's what I'm doing. So just check out dreamrarebiz.com if you're, for sponsorships, for consultation. And once again, I implore anybody that's interested in sponsoring me, look at my Instagram page, look at my Facebook page, look at the comments, look at the shares, right? Look at the engagement, and then go look at these other people that, especially if you're a big business that you're probably giving a lot of money to, look at their comment section, look at the amount of like real engagement they have. I'm not joking. My page is bigger than most people, even with millions of followers. It's all artificial. They're paying for it. I know somebody that has millions of followers, they post something and get 20 comments. I'm not hating. I'm just saying from a marketing perspective, if I post and I get 200,000 views within a day, and I get like 800 comments or 400 comments, and they post and get 30 comments, yet they have 5 times as many followers, how does that happen? I mean, there's a lot of reasons that it happens, but they're not that popular. All these people are pretending to be more popular than they are to secure these huge sponsorship deals. And then once they get the money, then they can, make it happen. And then, they don't really care what goes on. But it's like, for any company that works with me, if they're willing to really work with me and really willing to do because a lot of times companies want to work with you, but do it the way like, oh, let's do it like this. And it's like, it's cool, I'll do it, I don't care. But like, I would love to work together to figure out to make it really work, etc. So just check it out. Go to other people's. There are huge people that have huge followings, but a lot of these people, they've exhausted their audience because they're not really, they're not really that popular, and they don't have real engagement. Someone said, "Did you move or are you on the road?" It's a long story. I don't really feel like explaining it, but eventually I will be somewhere else, but I'm not really. I mean, I obviously am right now, but I don't feel like explaining it. How do I feel about AI? I mean, there's pros and cons, but depends how far they go. I'm not like the biggest fan, but if they could use it like to make things better, then it's fine. But yeah, the escalation of it is definitely concerning. Barbara said, "My God, dude, why are you talking so much about you? Like me, 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 me." I want to just say fuck you, Barbara, but I won't say fuck you, Barbara, because saying fuck you, Barbara would be rude. But it's like, fuck you, Barbara. It's like I said, it's my stream, and you're like, why are you talking about yourself? Because did you read the title, dumbass? It says question and answer with An0maly at the end. Shit brain, Barbara. It's like scumbags like this wouldn't care if I never did it. It's like, I'm coming to your channel. Why are you talking about yourself? I don't know, dumbass, because it says question and answer at the end, because I'm explaining that Facebook's taking tens of thousands of dollars from me and I'm remaking my business model and I'm asking people for sponsors because, it's like, go fuck yourself. Seriously, like walk outside, look at the sun and go fuck yourself. Like, people like this, she's like demonically possessed or something. It's like, it's my show. It literally says question and answer. And then these people just want to use me and treat me like I'm an animal or their little slave. It's like, go fuck yourself, Barbara. Like, who are you? No one asked you to be here. No one cares about you. Probably your own family's like, nah, she's not really that nice. But, hopefully somebody likes you, because if no one likes you, that would explain why you're so miserable. But it's like, people like that, it's like, what are you even here for? What do you want out of me? Do you want me to not be able to run my business so I can't make videos, so I don't have to look at your stupid comment? It's like, I despise people like that. They're disgusting to me. It's like, go away. It's a question and answer, and I'm talking about how they're blocking me from making tens of thousands of dollars. So I have to rearrange my business model in order to even make content in the first place. Just make it for me. Just do what I want you to do. I'm Barbara. Do what I want you to do. I'm Barbara. I want it now. Go fuck yourself, Barbara. Unless you're doing $1,000 super chat, eat shit. Okay. It's like, the fuck am I? You talk to your kids that way? You talk to your dog that way? Who the fuck do you think you are? You know what I'm saying? Even if you donated $10,000 to me, I'd still be like, fuck you. Like, don't talk to me that way. You know what I'm saying? I'm not your slave. I'm not asking for a transaction so you can control my every move like I'm a fucking animal on a leash. It's disgusting. Slave master Barbara, God knows how terribly she treats her dog. Probably beats the no. Unreal. Anyway, let's get back to the show. Pete said, black people are waking up 100%. I just watched a chat called Combos with Kara and Danielle and Dark Horse podcasts, all like this one. I mean, are you suggesting that Brett Weinstein is black people? That's kind of crazy. You're like, black people are waking up. I just watched Brett Weinstein's podcast and man, those blacks are waking up. It's like, I'm not, I'm not an expert. I'm not saying nobody black listens to Brett Weinstein, but I would be shocked if his major demographic was Black America. My guess was Brett Weinstein has less than 1% black people listening to him. That's like the least black podcast on planet Earth, But it's like, I don't know. It's like the whitest podcast. I don't know, but whatever. Anyway, someone said, you told her. I just don't like people treating me like I'm a slave, where it's like, when I'm explaining what I'm explaining, and then people are like, why are you talking about yourself? Like, I don't ever have to post again, go live again. And if I don't get the business right, I'm fine. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, like, I can't do what I'm doing if I don't get my ducks in a row, which is why I'm still here and able to do it. So when I'm talking about that and someone tells me to shut up, it's like they think I'm a slave or a dog or something, that I'm just here busting out content for their personal, like, solo, like they're paying for it directly for the audacity of just even thinking that is just like mind blowing. So, you know, it's just crazy. Someone said An0maly isn't the only one suffering from censorship. I didn't say I was. You and other media influencers need to protest in front of Congress. I don't know what that's going to do. Someone said An0maly going in on Barbara is hilarious. I just don't like it, it's just like shocking levels of it. It's like, why are you doing this? It's like literally today's episode, it literally said An0maly question and answer. Why are you talking about yourself? Read it again. An0maly question and answer. It's like going to a Red Hot Chili Peppers concert and screaming at, like, stopping the show and being like, why are you playing rock and roll? I'm Barbara. Why are you playing rock and roll? It's like, fuck you, Barbara. You're at a rock and roll concert with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. What are you here for? What do you think they're doing? It's just like, it's just gross. It's like An0maly question and answer. It's right in the title. But I do take, I don't want to let it like ruin the whole show, but I do take personal offense to it, because it's one of these things where people treat me like that all the time, and I'm like, why am I here? Why am I able to be here every day? I love what I do. I appreciate it. And I worked for 10 years for nothing because I was passionate about it. But like at this point in my life, I'm 34. I have health insurance. I have car bills. I have rent. I have other stuff. You know, eventually I want to own property and have like generational wealth to give down to my family. Like, why am I here? Of course I enjoy what I do. I like it, but it's like, I've created a business where I could stay afloat and be able to do this and be able to do my job and influence society and influence politics and try to make the world better. In my view, that's what I'm trying to do, because I've done that. And then this whole live stream is about me explaining how Facebook and Instagram, and I haven't even talked about it, even my email list, like a lot of things have been cracking down trying to stop me from doing this. And then I'm explaining it. And then this lady comes here and says, why are you talking about yourself? Because if I don't talk about myself today, Barbara, I'm never going to be able to talk and satisfy your little demonic needs again. I have to talk about myself right now, or else I'm never going to be able to talk about worldly issues or talk about politics or talk about anything. That's why I'm talking about myself and my business today, specifically more than ever. And it's in the title also that it was going to be a question and answer. Like, I'm sorry for getting upset, but it's like, I don't do well when people try to treat me like a dog or a slave. Like during COVID, I blew my lid quite a few times because everyone was trying to treat me like a slave. And I was like, I'm very nice until I'm not. It's like, yo, stop. I'm not a slave. I'm not a dog. I'm not an animal. Like, you're out of your mind treating me that way. You know, like when people would be like, could you do this, sir? Like, I felt like I was in a shitty Jim Carrey movie where like everybody was ridiculous and I'm the only normal person in the whole world. And I'm like, is ever like, I gotta get my groceries. And I'm like, are you all a bunch of like, you know what I'm saying? And then I'm like, hey, and then like there's like 5 people surrounding me, like I broke the communist rule of 1984. Like, and I'm like, yo, is anyone alive here? Like, you know, and then I just have to go off on these people because I'm like, get away from me, you disgusting weirdos. Like, you know, you sure you're vaccinated? You sure, I didn't get the booster. You didn't get the mask. You got the mask at the free. What the mask? I don't want your mask. No, I don't want it. You need it. I don't need it. Or you can't buy that. I'm gonna buy it. It's like she's giving me COVID vibes where everyone tried to just treat me like an animal and a slave. I'm like, I'm not. It's not what this is. It's just crazy. It's my channel. Yeah, but it literally says question and answer in the title. But also it's a rare day. Like people know out of every, like if you watch on average, as annoying as I can be sometimes, go watch the top 100 podcasts, and then go watch 100 podcasts with a similar audience that I have. Do any of them have less sponsors than I have? Who has less sponsors than me? I don't even have sponsors. I do sponsors once every couple months. I barely talk about my merch. I just put a little thing at the end of the show when, most people are there at the beginning sometimes. So it's like I promote less than most people ever do. And I'm stupid for it. I could make 50 times as much money if I promoted more. Every time I promote my hats, they sell. Every time I promote a company, they sell. I have a big audience. No one promotes less than I do in this space. Go watch any of the Daily Wire people or anybody in any space. They sell 5 times, 6 times, 7 times a show. And I'm not saying they're bad. They're making money every time they sell that. So if I don't even push an ad or do a sponsorship for 3 months straight, and then one time I talk about how Facebook just took tens of thousands of dollars away from me, why it would be like if you went home after work and you make, I don't know how much you make, Barbara, if you even work, but I'm just doing an example. Let's just say you make $100,000 a year, and your boss tells you, you know what, Barbara, you're actually going to make $5,000 this year, and I'm taking $95,000 out of your income, but I'm expecting you to do the same exact work. And you went home and you said, hey, husband, I'm only getting paid $5,000 this year instead of $100,000. And your husband goes, me. Why are you talking about yourself, Barbara? That's what you're doing on my show when I run less ads than most people ever do. So it's like, the trade-off here is me running 99% less ads than everybody else and only really talking about this. But people like Barbara, make me want to run 7 ads a show and just be like, fuck them. You know what I'm saying? Let me just run that's what everyone else does. They're like, fuck them. Let me run my ads. I'll sell 5G. I'll sell this. I'll sell sleep pillows, this, that, whatever the fuck I got to sell, make 20 grand. And then I'm out. And then everyone's going to hate anyway. So, it's like, thank you for inspiring me to sell more stuff. Cause when I do it once every 3 months and you yell at me for it, then it makes me not even want to do it. But someone said, are the NPCs here to test us? It definitely could be. Someone said, F those ads and live streams, but that's why they do it though. And I was trying to explain before, especially like if you run a business or you want to get into social media, or your business uses Instagram and Facebook like everyone's does, or even Yelp, it's like you want to know, like the reason I enjoy the art of marketing. I enjoy the art of social media marketing. I've done it my whole life. I find it interesting, and I do think it's an art if you do it right. And I do believe that's why I've been successful. So when I see Instagram and Facebook, I'm just explaining to those who want to know. Not everybody wants to know. It's not a marketing podcast, but for those who want to know, they've funneled most of the traffic now through Instagram Reels and Facebook Reels, and they don't pay users for those. So someone like me, I'm still getting just as many views if I do those Reels. They just don't pay you. So it's like they're either pocketing the money, they're not giving it to users. So then if you're a user, you have to figure out how to get that money, because you still have an audience of millions of people. It's just they don't pay you when millions of people see your content like they used to 5 months ago. So that's why so many people are running sponsorships and ads, because you can't rely on Facebook. You can't rely on YouTube. They could take your whole monetization over nothing. If you question Big Pharma, they take this, they take that. That's why all these users are running so many ads, because it's like, one, they want to make as much money as they can, but also you can't rely, unfortunately, you can't rely on these social media companies to do it. So you got to find the money elsewhere. This year myself, it's like I've played certain games where it's like I'm down to take financial losses this year if I'm healthier, working out more, happier, and building for the future. So that's kind of my theme of this year. It's like I'm going to probably make less this year than I made last year, and I'm at peace with it. I'm not trying to play that rat race game of, I got to make as much as I did this and that. I'm like, I'll lose money for a bit just to regain my traction and then make more in the future with the right business model. But it is what it is, but I see the writing on the wall. I see what they're doing, and I'm just trying to counter it. It is what it is. Someone said it's all control at the end of the day, and I believe that you have been the only one who's avoided the control. I wouldn't say the only one, but definitely, and that's why I explain it too. Like I'm not gonna name. I mean, maybe I should name it. I know, but I'm just kidding. There's like 4 big right-wing media organizations that have all the money. I mean, I'm just gonna say it, and I'm not gonna blame any of these individually, because there's some good things at all of them. Daily Wire has a shitload of money. Blaze TV seems to have a shitload of money. Turning Point seems to have a shitload of money. Fox News seems to have a shitload of money. And then there's other ones like Newsmax and stuff and Breitbart. But, you could think of 10 right-wing media organizations that probably have Daily Caller, whatever, all the money. Let's just say, I'm not saying this is true, but let's just say 9 out of 10 of these, they won't let you work there if you don't push the Zionist agenda and you criticize Zionist speech laws or American or foreign aid. Like, let me start with foreign aid, okay? And this is no disrespect to anybody. If one country is getting hundreds of billions of dollars, like multiple countries are, that's $100 billion business. So if some idiot comes along, or some genius, whatever you want to say, some pest comes along and starts saying we should end that foreign aid, like Thomas Massey, there's a reason everybody talks shit to them and tries to kick them out of the party, because they're ruining $100 billion business of getting the aid. So that's how right-wing media really operates, is like, if you threaten or criticize that business at all, or talk about its relationship to America, even if you have First Amendment principles and kindness in your heart and no disrespect, they're going to edge you out of these companies. And especially if you're a small influencer that doesn't have the clout of Candace Owens, who could really get away with it. And I'm glad that she is speaking about it. But they know they can only work there if they don't go there. So they all don't go there because they don't want to lose their job. They don't want to lose the money. In some ways, social media censors people, and they're afraid to talk about certain topics, like because they know Facebook or YouTube might take it down. So it's between like social media censorship and between, I would say, conservative media and how they operate. You have a bunch of people who are just a bunch of useless talking heads, because they know if they ever say something meaningful about certain topics, that their whole career is over. And not everybody has, I've even heard from other people, it's like, they want to say what you're saying, but they have a family to feed. They're, like some people view me like Candace, where they're like, you've already made it. You already have money. So like, you can say what you said. And I'm like, I get what you're saying, but I always would have done that. That's why I am who I am. So it's not like I did this just to get here and then I did this, but I understand, like, people, it's the same people who got a vaccine because they needed the money to feed their family. Like, I get it. It's just like, it is what it is. So what I'm trying to explain is, if you can't fund your operation and they could funnel money to people who will listen, then now that's why no one knows the truth. Like on television, it's not that hard to figure out how they did it. Let's go through all the companies that control the television: ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox News. And I think all of them are mostly controlled by like Viacom or Murdoch, or I'm not really sure the whole, but there's parent companies who even own some of these companies. And there's only a couple companies that own every television station, most of the radio, and most of the print press. So the reason a lot of the older generation is brainwashed on certain topics is because they never got a real discussion. A couple companies and a couple billionaires bought up all the media organizations, all the printing press, and most of the radio. So you're getting 100 different news, but it's all the same, and that's how they kind of cornered the market there. And if anybody ever came out, any scientist, any genius, any celebrity, anybody ever came out with any power against them, they just made them look crazy. And they've done that for the last 70, 80 years, and they still do it. So, just because now it's on the internet, there's still that element of control, and that element of, if anybody outside of our power structure or outside of our control says this, then we crack down on them multiple ways. We try to cut the funding from them. We won't pay them. If we won't pay them, we'll try to stop anybody else from paying them. We'll try to get them banned off social media. We'll try to get them ruin their name in the press so they can't get sponsorship deals. Sometimes they directly contact sponsors and try to get them to not even work with you. And it's like, and then they elevate somebody just like you that will say what they want you to say. So, this is like, the reason I talk about this stuff is because it's happening, it's real, and it's not just left wingers like Alex Jones says. He's like the biggest phony now. Oh, it's the left. This rabbi's left wing. He's not left wing. It's not a left or right issue. He knows that. Alex Jones is not stupid. He's covering it up for one reason or the other. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's like some 5D chess move, or maybe he's just not an honest man. But it's like, there's, everybody wants to misframe everything so people can't figure stuff out. And one of the ways they're doing that is obviously finances. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but I can't speak for everybody or what they want to do or but I'm just talking. Yeah, it's a question and answer. I'm talking about my own business and my own kind of trajectory of like where I'm going and if I can really pull it off. Cause That's what the dreamrarebiz.com website is about. And that's what this stream is mostly about. Someone said interview Charlotta Bassett for a California Senate seat, strong in faith. What district is she in? Is she going to lose by 30 points? It's nice to be strong in faith, but I'll check it out. I'll look into it. But if she's in Adam Schiff's district, or what, is she in a conservative district at least where she has a chance? I don't know. Someone said, sound like what's happening to Trump. Yeah, no, I said that earlier if you weren't here. They're trying to bankrupt Trump because they're going to pull his money away, and then people are going to come and give him money. It's going to be big donors and people like Ben Shapiro, who's like, Ben Shapiro never liked Donald Trump because at the first he thought he couldn't control Donald Trump. Now all of a sudden Ben Shapiro makes a video and everyone thinks he's so virtuous. Oh, I'm going to donate to Donald Trump. Suck the money out. Put the money back in. You know what I'm saying? But the money comes with strings attached. So, Trump is going to be even more controllable now and even more probably, but who knows? We'll see what happens. But I mean, in some ways I feel bad for him because it's just like they're just sucking his money out, but then they'll put it back in and have strings on it. Someone said Trump was a Democrat till he ran Republican. He has some conservative values, but to me, to each their own. I just think Trump is he's like a good actor, a good comedian, and he has really good public speaking skills. I don't think he's really that much different than these other politicians. Like, I don't think Trump is even close to a Thomas Massey. I don't think Trump is as good as Rand Paul. And to me, Trump, like the perfect analogy of like Trump in politics to me is Kevin McCarthy. People don't like Kevin McCarthy, but they like Trump. Why don't people like Kevin McCarthy? Because they know he's just like a middleman, a guy who's going to like say what you want and work with Mitch McConnell. That's Trump also. He's no different than Kevin McCarthy. He just is better rhetorically than Kevin McCarthy, and he's more likable. But Trump is not a Rand Paul. Trump is not a Thomas Massey. He's better than a Biden, but he's just like a Kevin McCarthy. He's just like a like he'll not be a Democrat. That's about it. And with that, you'll get some judges, and you'll get like half a wall, but it's better than a Democrat, but it's just never going to be what people think it is. But people got to figure out why that is. Once you figure out why, then you could fix the problem. Why did Trump hire the swamp? Why did Trump hire pharmaceutical lobbyists? Why did Trump pass speech laws for a foreign country? Why did Trump print trillions of dollars like a socialist? Like, why? If you say he made a mistake, it's never going to get fixed because it's not a mistake. You got to figure out who's pulling the strings and how and why, and then it could change. But if people are just talking about Trump and Biden, it's not really a threatening conversation. It's like the perfect Tom and Jerry show. Oh, I forgot. My buddy made a picture of Thomas Massey chasing Jerry Nadler, like with the Tom and Jerry, like the guy said the other day. He made like an image for it. It's so funny. I don't have it with me, but I'll bring it tomorrow. Someone said these questions are very anti-Trump sounding. Here's the problem with anti and pro. These are just like false paradigms. It's like saying anti-Semitic or anti-Zionist. Like, what do you mean by that? Anti-Trump? What is anti-Trump to? It depends who you are and what you say. Anti this, anti that. What do you mean by that? Like a question can be anti-Trump? A question? It's who's even asking? Like, are you saying what I'm saying? It's like your whole lens is skewed. So you're never going to get what's going on because you think everything's pro-Biden or anti-Trump. Like, you're not getting it, If you can't figure out why these things were done, you're never going to change them. And that's most Trump supporters. They say every mistake Trump made, every corrupt move he made, he had to, or he got fooled, or he didn't mean to. It's like, that's what you want to think, because in order to keep pretending like he is who you say he is, you have to pretend like he didn't mean to do that. Once you realize that Trump did mean to do all these things, then the narrative that he's really so much on your side fighting the elites, it's not real, which people don't have low enough ego to admit that. So they just keep going along with and that's where like the QAnon stuff went on. Apparently his lawyer, Jenna Hababa or whatever her name is, she went on X22 report. It's like, dude, this is who Trump is. And I'm not saying, oh, QAnon's so bad. It's just dishonesty. It's like false hopium, false narratives to brainwash MAGA moms into complete, it's like the other side of the coin of communism. It's like they print the money, they spend the money, they sell the vaccines, they rush the vaccines, and they mandate the vaccines. Like it's never going anywhere. Andrew said, I want to help. Your common sense, illogical takes, and honest energy needs to be amplified. Stay independent. Thank you for your work. On X at Dronage333. Thank you so much, Andres. I appreciate you. Thanks for a super chat. Someone said, read your chat later, my friend. You are smart. You know about history and media monopolies. You understand the context and nuance. Appreciate it. I've known that 5 or 6 media companies control everything since 19. I rapped about it in a song when I was 19 years old. Like, I was always kind of outside of the system. I wasn't always right, obviously, but like I wasn't like, oh, I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican. I knew this since I was 19. I saw the chart. I listened to the conspiracy theory, which was obviously true. It's like, here's they did a whole graph. They're like, here's Viacom, here's Rupert Murdoch. Here, like they own everything, between the 5 or 6 media companies. And people are like, that's a conspiracy. It's like, it's a provable fact. What are you talking about? Like people think everything's a conspiracy theory. So it's just crazy, but it's whatever. Someone said, I could tell you why he hired those bad appointees, said Wilbur. The Republican Party probably pressured him to put them in the cabinet. The swamp don't stay in power this long without being stupid. Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. I think there's a lot of different ways, like pressure, bribery, blackmail sometimes. Like, with Trump, I don't think he really like put up I don't think he tried. Like I've said this before, but it's been a while. Find the clips when Trump ran for office. He said, I'll never take their money. I don't need their money. I'm filthy rich. Why do I need their money? They can't control me. That makes sense. He didn't do that. Before he got in office, he took hundreds of millions of dollars from donors and corporations. That's why he hired the cabinet. It's not even like he got pressured and he really tried. Trump is a con artist. He's not even trying. He's just telling you the things that like, like a guy who tried would be a guy who didn't take $100 million and then put in pharmaceutical lobbyists. He didn't. I don't even think like it's hard to pressure Trump because I don't think he is who people think he is. So eventually, yeah, they use pressure and Russia collusion to pressure him into doing certain things. But he sold his entire cabinet out before he even got there, before they even said anything about it. His whole cabinet was sold out. Holly said, keep explaining. You're making a difference. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. But it's so hard for like Republicans don't want to think that way. So it's just like, well, all right, well, we'll figure it out. Someone said, I don't think America would survive 4 more years of Biden. I don't think it would be ideal for sure. I think that there's definitely a lot of people who don't want Trump to win, but I think that I personally think that there are establishment people that do want Trump to win, because I think that Biden is he's not doing anything. He's allowing Israel to do whatever they want basically, but like kind of complaining about it, but not really. Trump will open up the floodgates. Like you can't tell me that the establishment and establishment people don't want Trump in office. Like why? Because you think he's fighting them. Both sides are the same. So to me, it's like I think Trump will justify Israel doing whatever they want to Palestine even more than Biden. And personally, I think a lot of donors, that's exactly what they want, which is similar to Ben Shapiro saying, I'm raising money for Trump. Of course you are, because now you've decided that Biden's not pushing the foreign policy you want. And if you pay Trump enough, he probably will, or he will anyway. So, I don't see things the same way everyone else sees it. I don't think Trump is this massive threat, but I do think that they will bankrupt him until he does what they want him to do. It's the same way with like, Candace was talking about certain meetings she had and stuff. And it's like, if you stop doing what you're doing, you can return to what you're doing. But if you don't, things are going to get more difficult. And it's like, everybody has that talk at some point, or they want to have that talk with you. What about RFK? He's already had that talk and he's already caved. RFK is just a nothing. He's thrown his whole political career away, and I'm embarrassed for him. I mean, kudos to everything he's done his whole life in pharmaceuticals, but he's not an outsider. He's not independent. He's not going to do anything. He flopped like a fish, the same way he did when he had a vaccinated party because his wife told him to. It's like, if you can't even not try to vaccinate your guests to go to a party, how could you run the United States of America? Nice guy, no chance, not going to win. I question why he's even in running, because he's not going to win. So Mary said An0maly is a closet liberal. Mary is a closet idiot. I'm not a closet liberal. Can you explain yourself, Mary? An0maly is a closet liberal because I'm too stupid to get what he's saying. We know, Boomer. We know, Mary Boomer. And I'm not mad at all boomers. We love boomers here. But boomers like Mary, that's like, you're a closet liberal. It's like, you're a closet moron, which is why the country sucks, because you ruined it for all the generations that come after, because you're too stupid to figure out what's going on. I'm proofread every time I talk. What are you even talking about? You're the type of like Christian boomer that you're like, someone will be like, I hate Jesus Christ. And you'll be like, you're my greatest ally. Let me give you all my money. And it's like, and then you're like, why is America going to shit? It's like, I don't know, Mary. Maybe because of stupid boomers like you, knowing nothing and just selling out your kids and your kids' kids for 100 years until the whole country looks like San Francisco. Maybe that has something to do with it. It's just like embarrassing. It's like that rabbi who talked to Candace. He was like, anti-Semitism's been around since Jesus. And Mary will be like, let's give them speech laws that make the Bible illegal. That's what a good Christian would do, is outlaw our own text. It's like, that's the Republican Party. It's just filled with boomer Christian Zionists who pass speech laws that make part of the Bible hate speech. And they think that they're like beating up the devil by literally like outlawing their own religious text. It's like, no wonder they think you're cattle. No wonder they're hurting you like cattle, because you act like it. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be mean, but it's just like, these people come to me like, you're a liberal. It's like, you're stupid, like, you're so dumb. It's why you thought Ronald Reagan was a conservative, and you thought George Bush was a conservative, and you probably still think Donald Trump's a conservative, because you're too stupid to figure out what's going on, which is why the country sucks, which is why they promote right-wingers like Charlie Kirk to you that'll be like, look at the left, to make you feel better about yourself, so you never figure out that you're also just as complicit in screwing up America as the liberals that you point at. It's nothing to do with being liberal, me saying this. It's just the reality of your whole life. It's like, I'm not trying to be rude, but it's like, these people try to step to me and be like, oh, how dare you? It's like, shut up. You've messed up the country for 50 years. Step aside. Someone said something about the Balfour Declaration and the Rothschilds. Yeah, Lord Rothschild got Israel, modern Israel, through the Balfour Declaration. That's Christians nowadays. They're like, if we don't give all our money to Rothschilds, then we're not good Christians. You're like, okay. They're like, we need to ban TikTok because we're going to fight Chinese spy balloons. It's like, where'd you hear that? They're like, Mark Levine. You're like, and you're a liberal if you don't agree with Ben Shapiro. It's like, okay, where do we start? It's like, I'm being rude, but it's just like, these people come and they're like, you're liberal. It's like, listen to everything I said over the last 3 years. It's not liberal. It's just like, they're stuck in the false paradigm. Like, they get so mad thinking that like Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, and Donald Trump aren't going to fix America. Like, it's the scariest reality. It's like, if Ronald Reagan was so great, why does America look like it does? If George Bush was so great, why is America? They weren't real, and neither is Trump. So it's just like, whatever. Someone said, I asked before, hold on, what do I think about all the rumors in the hip hop community? I mean, the Diddy rumors have been around for a long time. I mean, I don't go off of rumors, but I can't really speak on what they were doing, but just look at who runs hip hop and who the rappers are. Like, it's owned by a bunch of executives that you can't talk about what ethnicity they are, or else they'll say it's hate speech. And then a lot of the rappers are black guys that are talking about gang violence and drugs and murder. It's like, I don't know, like what type of stuff, like it would be more shocking to me if nothing was going on in that industry, like an industry of just perversion, filth, over sexuality, murder, crime, and theft. What do you think they're doing? Kumbaya? All they do is talk about like killing your neighbor over Jordans, and you know what I'm saying? Like stealing from grandmas and like, having like sex out of wedlock. Like this is like the least ethical industry on planet Earth. So I don't know about the rumors, but like it doesn't take a genius to figure out that in an industry run by executives who hate you and rappers who will sell out their own people, for a paycheck, it wouldn't be surprising to me if they were doing bad stuff. Because I'm not saying the whole genre, but it's like they've promoted self-destruction to black people. They've promoted self-destruction to white people, and they've profited off it for 3 decades now. Like, I don't expect anything out of these people. And the reason I say this, because it's like, okay, people always say, like, if an Islamic person blows themselves up and says Allah Akbar and blows something up, and the media won't report it, conservatives get mad. They go, why won't you report that he said Allah Akbar? Why won't you report that he's Muslim? And I agree, because it's part of the story. It doesn't mean all Muslims do that. They don't. But if that one did do that, and you don't put it in the story, it just seems a little weird, because it's almost like you're covering up his intention. It's not everyone's intention, but it was his intention, apparently. With all this stuff, there's a reason. Just go to the founder of pornography, Al Goldstein. Go to his Wikipedia. It's not like ethnicity has nothing to do with it. In his worldview, it has everything to do with it. Not mine, but he says, he's like, I don't like Christians. I hate Christians. This whole, I'm defiling them. He talks about WASPs, which are white people. He's like, I despise them. And then white people are like, you're my greatest ally. It's like, no wonder you have nothing, So it's like, it doesn't matter all the time. And I'm not saying to blame everyone, but when you look at like that, it's not random. And it's not random that the message being pushed is so antichrist. It's because people that are antichrist are behind the message. You know what I'm saying? A Christian doesn't go out and push an antichrist message against Christ. Somebody who hates Christ does that. It's not that hard to figure out. But boomers like Mary just can't figure it out. They just can't get it. And they're just so angry when someone figures it out. Well, shut up. Tired of it. Someone said, generalizing to the max, I hate Christians, said Donna. I never said you hate Christians. I don't even know who you are. I'm just saying the guy who normalized pornography in America exclusively came out and said he hates Christ and Christians, and pornography is a way of defiling them. He said that. He said it was an ethnic and religious hatred that he had because of his ethnicity. I'm not saying everyone feels that way, because they don't. He said that, though, and you'd be surprised how many people agree with him and how many people share those same beliefs. So if you can't figure that out, you're too stupid. You get it? I'm being very blunt right now. It's just the truth. It doesn't mean everyone's doing that. I'm not asking you to blame a whole country, a whole group, but people do exist that think that way. They hate you. They hate Christ. They hate Christians. They have thousands of years of ethnic hatred for you, and they're explaining it, and it's right on Wikipedia for you to read. It's not everyone doing it, but it does exist, and people who own things do that. Not everyone, but not zero. The number's not zero either. And if you can't figure that out, you're going to constantly not be able to figure out why things are the way that they are. It's the same way if you live in a neighborhood and you live in a nice society of strong people and good families and good people who don't steal, and you have a strong sense of police security, people are not going to get robbed. If you live in a society where you live around a bunch of people who are criminals and thieves, your chances of getting robbed are higher. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't have a police force or authority, it's even higher. And if the courts are against you, it's even higher. These are just statistics. So if you have people running organizations, industries, and that hate the things that you like, the country's not going to go the way you want it to go. It's like, why is San Francisco the way it is? Because their ideology is not yours. You know what I'm saying? The way they're running, the way they think about everything is almost the inverted way that you think about it. Like, this is how you think crime should go. This is how they think crime should go. This is what you think about LGBTQ. Here's what they think about it. And they go so far that even gay people are disgusted by what they're doing. Like, you get what I'm saying? It's like there's a reason everything happens. So if like entire industries are run by people that are like, I hate Christ, I hate white people, and they literally like just outwardly say that, and it's on their Wikipedia page. And if you're too dumb to read it, Al Goldstein, go look at it. It's like that. That's the number of times that's happening is not zero. And anytime you talk about this, you'll get smeared in the press, you'll get blacklisted from left and right wing media, and and then people will swarm around you to tell you that it's not happening and say that you need to not say that it's happening. That's what's happening. So, it is what it is. I'm not being rude, and I'm not overly exaggerating about it, because I'm not saying it's happening everywhere all the time or everyone's doing it, but it is happening to some extent. And most Republicans, the reason that Republican media won't report on it, and the reason that Republican politicians won't talk about it, is because they're in on it. They're the ultimate deceiver. I would say that they're even worse than the people doing it, because they're the sellout. They're the, Benedict Arnold, or whoever you want to compare him to. The only person in Congress, I mean, maybe there's a few, but the only person in Congress that's even worth listening to on this topic is Thomas Massie. Out of all the hundreds of people in Congress, there's one, not 5, not 10, not 100, one. That's why when Trump wins, you lose, because there's one guy that gives a shit, and the rest of them are in on it. I know it's crazy. It sounds crazy, but it's the truth. It's the truth. Thomas Massie, they'll vote on a resolution condemnation bill that's for one race, one religion, one country. And it makes it's against everything Republicans ever believe about hate speech or censorship or anything. And they're all voting yes, except for one. And then he gets smeared. And then DC Dingbat or DC Drano tries to kick him out of the party. And then Donald Trump tries to kick him out of the party. It's like, you guys obsess over people that don't give a shit about you, which is like clown behavior. And as a person, I'm not saying DC Drano's a bad guy. I like him as a person, but it's like, it's disgusting to me when he tries to kick Thomas Massie out of the party, because Thomas Massie's the only good one. And when Donald Trump tried to kick him out of the party, it's like, fuck Donald Trump. Someone said, what about Ron Paul? Ron Paul was the man, but he's not in Congress anymore. Yeah, he was a good one for sure. That's why they all hated him too. And the press hated him, and Republicans hated him. And the same people in the comments calling me a liberal probably hated him and said, oh, get out of the way, Ron Paul, so Mitt Romney could lead our country. It's like, someone said, not all San Franciscans agree with what's going on in our city. We're just outnumbered by the younger people. No, absolutely. Listen, this is why I don't say that much anymore, because after everyone misconstrues everything you say, you just don't even want to talk anymore. But like, I've lived in LA. It's not all bad people. There's millions of good people in LA. I would assume that there's like hundreds of thousands or millions of good people in San Francisco, but the people running the city, the people who get elected, they're inverted. Their logic is inverted. And I'm not saying every person, like every rabbi, every Jewish person does this, or every Christian does this, or every like liberal does this. That's not what I'm saying. But it's like, liberals, not all of them, but the ones running San Francisco, I believe, have like an inverted reality to what I think would be right. When the founder of pornography says all these things, he's telling me outwardly, I hate you, I hate your race, I hate your religion, I'm trying to defile you, and I have inverted thinking to you have. It's not to say everybody does it. Like I said with a Muslim, every church is not doing pedophilia, and every Muslim is not blowing themselves up. That's not what I'm saying. But it's like, if they say Allah Akbar and do it and the media won't report it, that's weird. If all churches were covering up what other churches were doing, that's weird. These are what I'm talking about with left wingers. It's like, they're all they can't, like, it's not that left wingers are bad, because some of them get some things right, but they can't figure out why. Like, they don't understand why the cities are not working. I had a great conversation with someone recently that's more liberal than most people I talk to, right? Good person. I know they mean well. They're looking at TikToks and Instagrams. And we had a great conversation, and they mean well. But they just, and I didn't feel like convincing their whole worldview in 30 minutes. So it wasn't going to get fixed in my conversation. So I didn't say as much. But it's like, they don't, like, they're being fed talking points of like racism and this and that, and they mean well, but like, they just can't figure out why it doesn't work. They can't figure out why the city's failing, so it's just going to keep failing. And it's like, it's the same thing with like the rap industry. Listen, I'm not a victim. I don't care. It is what it is. But it's like, just look at the level of stuff that's being promoted. Ask yourself, is that what's popular? It could be. It could be that Americans are just degenerates and they want degenerate content. It could, like, we could be the problem. I don't, or it's like, who's signing these people? You know what I'm saying? Who's signing these female rappers twerking and talking about farting and like discuss, like, it's like, who's signing these people? And, that's why I went in on PBD a little bit. God bless the guy. But it's like, he has the opportunity to sign a journalist like myself. His team talks to me weird, plays games, not interested or whatever. Or like, I go back and forth and I don't like the way they're talking to me. And it's like, the whole vibe is a little weird, but I know they mean well, whatever. And it doesn't work out and they're not interested, or vice versa. And it's whatever. I have no hard feelings about it, because there was like counter offers and whatever. And it didn't work out. Sure. But then you sign Chris Cuomo. You know what I'm saying? To me, it's like, that's a demonic organization now. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you're pushing a demonic person that pushes pharmaceutical propaganda, foreign wars, and you're going to present it to your audience, which is mostly conservative, as opposition. PBD podcast is rotting the brains of Republicans, rotting the brains of conservatives, and lowering their IQ with a false conversation and false opposition. Non-impressive Republican talking points, false opposition, liberal talking points. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, if a label won't sign me to a record contract when I'm 20 years old, which happened, and said, I know this in the music industry. They said, if you don't stop talking about this, this, and this, we don't want to sign you. Don't talk about politics. Talk about women. Talk about this. And I wasn't interested. So we never got to the part where they even gave me a contract. But then you could look at that record label and see who they're signing. They're signing filth. They're signing degenerates. They're signing people that are telling white kids to take pills and black people to commit crimes, and vice versa. So it's like, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's just like, whoever's running these industries, they are more interested in pushing theft and violence and gang related stuff and pills and that. And that's like with PBD. It's like, you have the opportunity to sign me, and then you give more money to Chris Cuomo. It's like, how is PBD podcast any different than these executives, everybody complains about? And he says he's a Christian. So it's like, it is what it is, but it's like, I'm just identifying how the system works. If the founder of pornography says he hates Christians and white people, I hear it. And he says it's an ethnic hatred and a religious hatred, that I hear what he's saying, and it's not to say everyone's saying it, but he is. And then, when it comes to other people like that, if you tell me that you thought I was the best reporter during COVID, but then you sign a mainstream media Democrat who was one of the worst reporters during COVID, that is responsible for the suffering of millions of people, that shows me who you really are. And I'm glad they never hired me, because I wouldn't want to work with people like that. I mean, that's evil. How is that any less evil than MSNBC? It's perhaps even more evil what PBD podcast is doing, because he's roped in a lot of Republicans in his little scheme. So now he's going to feed them Chris Cuomo and act like that's a real opposition. It's even worse. You know what I'm saying? He's no different than an executive in music or one of these mainstream media shows. And it's like, that's who the Republican Party is. It's filled with people like him that just control the opposition, have false paradigm discussions, and it's disgusting. So it's like, I'm not saying that we have no responsibility, but I've seen how the music industry works, and it feels like they're astroturfing all the intelligent, wise people. And every now and then a J. Cole or a Kendrick Lamar gets through, which is awesome. But for the most part, they're pushing the filth, they're pushing the degeneracy, and they're pushing the pills and the pharmaceuticals. And then you get to right-wing media, and I know they're doing the same thing. They're just, controlling the opposition and pushing false opposition and getting conservatives to listen to them about their Trump rhetoric, but then they send you in the totally wrong direction when it really matters. So it is what it is. Someone said they would have had you on your knees. Well, that's what I'm saying too. And like maybe I'll make a whole video about this one time to fully explain it because I really don't like talking about this. And I'm not going to make any like matters that are like private, public, because I'm not that type of person. I feel no personal way about anybody. But when I was negotiating with the podcast, there's like power maneuvers that certain people do. Like to me, I go with like I compliment them. I say like I really like what you're doing, and I don't play games. Like I'm just really straightforward. With other people, it's like they try to play these games, and I believe they're trying to either lower the amount that they're giving you, or they're trying to see how big of a pushover you are. Like someone, I'm not gonna name names, but someone in the comments is like, he only likes punks and yes men. I like his co-host, but they're punks. And I'm just being honest. It's like they don't have any leverage because they didn't really have a huge career beforehand, or they had no career, and so they have no leverage in the situation, which is maybe why they get signed, because they don't have a big audience and they need him to be there, whatever. But I'm coming with 1 billion views, millions of followers, you know what I'm saying? A more engaged audience than his entire co-host little group combined on my Instagram and Facebook page. So I'm coming with more leverage, but the whole time they're talking down to me like I'm a piece of shit. Not Patrick, but some of his other people. And I don't know if they meant to or not, but they're talking to me funny. They're not saying, hey, we like you, we respect you, that's why we want to sign you. They're playing these little stupid games with me, being like, oh, you can't come into this desperate. I'm not desperate. I have this, and anytime I would say that I want to work with them, but I'm also content and happy doing what I'm doing, they would throw jabs at me and be like, oh, why don't you just stay there then? Oh, if you like it so much, why don't you stay there? It's like they were shit testing me to see how big of a cuck I was or something. Because if I was like just a floor mop, then maybe they would have signed me. Like if I was like, I am desperate, I hate myself, you're the only ones that could save me, then maybe they would have hired me. But they made all these like statements to me before we even got to contracts. They said things like that 7 times, basically shit testing me to see how pathetic I was. And I'm not pathetic. So it's like, I'm not saying I wouldn't move there to work with you guys, but I'm not going to sit here and make myself look smaller to make you feel better. You're a huge media organization that's doing really well, and I respect you. I'm also doing well, and I'm not going to sit and pretend like I'm not doing well just to make you feel good. Like I like my life. I don't need money or anything. It's like if we're going to do a deal, it's got to make sense, or else I'm not going to do it. Like it's got to just make sense. And like, I think that's kind of part of the situation is like, they're treating me this way or asking me these questions or pushing me in this way because it's like a test. If I say I am desperate, if I say I am small, if I say I really need to be somewhere else, I don't want to be where I'm at, then maybe they sign me like, okay, this guy's easy to control. This guy is a floor mop. This guy is a pushover. This guy is a punk. But then it's like, if I don't do that, because you don't do that like in a deal. Like, imagine if a player, if you really wanted to sign them, right? And they're like, I like the team I'm on, but I'd love to join your team too. And I'll work my hardest. And they go, oh, if you like that other team so much, why don't you stay there? Oh, just stay there then. Just stay there. Just stay there if you like it. That's not how you talk to somebody you really want to sign, but I get it. They want, a Chris Cuomo or some co-host that has, not really an audience without them that needs them. So, it's just like, but to me, that just says a lot. Not because they didn't work with me, but they're willing to platform and throw millions of dollars into Cuomo instead of somebody that they actually think is doing a good job. And that's who Republicans are. They're mostly opportunists. They're mostly businessmen who are really there to just make a dollar. They don't care like that. That's why the country is the way that they are. It's like, oh, you're the best journalist during COVID, which was the biggest infringement on our civil liberties, but we'll throw way more money to a Democrat who did the worst job during COVID and affected millions of people negatively and covered for the pharmaceutical industry. That's who we want to hire. It's like, it's not even a personal thing. I'm just disgusted as a consumer, like as somebody who listens to podcasts and media, like even if I never even spoke to them, I would be disgusted by that hire. It's not an ethical hire. It's not real opposition. It's not real left or right paradigm. It's just a total it's like a total money grab or something. I don't even know what it is, but someone said, I think if they're talking that way to you, they really don't know who they're talking to. Well, that's one of these things. Either they don't know who I am, which wouldn't make sense. Why would they want to hire someone they don't know and that they've already complimented? Or they're trying to strong arm me and play this like power game. Cause it's one of these things too that like bothers me when it's like when they're trying to make me feel like I'm so small and that this and that. And I walk into their studio and some of their employees are fans of mine. They want to take pictures with me. It's like your staff knows who I am. Why do you guys not know who I am? But I don't care if you know who I am or not. Just leave me alone then. You know what I'm saying? But don't tell me to come in and try to hire me and have a meeting and then talk to me like I'm an animal. Like, like, oh, if you're happy, just stay there. Oh, this and that. It's like, I didn't come here because I'm miserable and desperate. I came here because you suggested that you might try to hire me. So I was interested in at least the thought process of it. Someone said Tucker interviewed Cuomo, and the next thing I see is PBD hired him. Do I think Tucker had anything to do with him getting hired? No. They were talking about hiring him way before. So I don't know if that was coordinated in any way like that, but they probably just waited till the Tucker interview to announce it. But I don't know how the networking goes in there. I'm not going to pretend to. Someone said they wanted to bring your talent to them. Well, that's the whole point of signing with somebody. There's nothing wrong with collaborating, but it's just the way they were talking to me and the way like it was just so condescending, so douchey, so sideways. And like, I'm just like, I don't know. Either it was a power play or they just didn't know who I was, or they knew who I was and just were talking to me like that. I don't care either way, but just saying. Would I ever want to work with them? Well, originally, it had nothing to do with their foreign policy. It's just I saw they did a good interview. I said good job, and then he offered that he was thinking about hiring or like me. It wasn't like I begged them for a job, and that's the thing too. When I started saying and speaking my mind about how they were talking to me, you know, one of them was like, "Oh, well, you wanted a job here." That's how this whole started. And I'm like, "All right, now you guys are lying about how this conversation started." I messaged him because I liked this Neil deGrasse Tyson interview. He said, "Call me." I called him and he said, "We're looking to hire people. We're building a team." I didn't go to his DMs to ask for a job. In fact, I never even thought that was not even on my radar. It was more compliment him, let him know he's doing a good job because that's just the right thing to do. And then it's like, maybe if it works out, I'll go on the podcast. I don't need a job. I didn't ask for one, So they asked me to come there to check it out. I came there and then they're talking shit to me like I'm begging them for a job or something. This was like months later when we were negotiating. The whole way they were talking to me was fucking gross. It's like every step of the way, it was just so douchey and so condescending and so scummy. Like it's just like, stop. So, it is what it is. But yeah, ideally, I've accomplished what I've accomplished with almost nothing. So if I could collaborate with people that are great at what they do, yeah, of course I'd like to work with somebody so I don't have to light myself, to film myself, to do all this stuff. Had management, they were finessing sponsors and they could pitch them to me. It would be great to have a team. Absolutely. Yeah. So, that's not like, I don't even disagreeing with someone. That doesn't really matter. Like I get that people disagree. So yeah, I'm not like desperate for it, but if I could find the right partnership that would make my life better, possibly, then it would be worth it. But I'm very picky with these things because like I'm gonna see what it says and make sure it's right, and if it's not right, it's fine. But it's whatever. Someone said, "An0maly, you got the instincts and some of the best discernment there is. I've watched a lot of them, but over time, my gut tells me they're weasels. Got to question anyone that makes it real big." Well, you know, I have my reasons for the way I feel the way I feel. I think like saving Chris Cuomo's career essentially and putting him on your media network. I mean, that says everything you need to know, but it's whatever. Someone said they probably wanted to try and figure out your formula or see if they would give it up without knowing for free so they could take your lack of style. Well, that's another thing too, with what they did as well. And also because I'm not really like afraid to show stuff because I'm proud of the work I've done. I've really gotten all these views and stuff. They did see my analytics as well. Nothing personal or anything, but they absolutely did see my analytics of how many views and how much I made and stuff on Facebook, which makes me feel another way. If they were just trying to data rate me and take my data so they could plant their little phonies there and pretend like they're me. Well, this is a message to their whole podcast. Your co-hosts are never going to be me. They're not as funny as me. They're not as smart as me. They're not as good as journalists. They're not as honest. They're not as intelligent. They're not as reasonable. They're not as wise. They're not as fair. So you could take my data. You could fake it. You could talk shit to me. You're never going to be me. They never will. Everybody knows it. They're still not as big as me. They're still not as popular. They're on big networks every day and no one gives a shit. And they got to pay to play, pay everybody and give them opportunities to get them around people, to get people interested. And they're still not as interested as they are in me. So try all you want. So, that could be what they're doing too, is just stealing my shit or getting my data so they could try to replicate it for their little clones and puppets that are like half as entertaining as me. But it's never going to work, It's whatever. And then they'll connect with Charlie Kirk and this and that, and they'll get all the fake money, and they'll never talk about Zionism. We know the script, we know the script. It's all good. Someone said the way you've cultivate engagement is skilled. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of marketing. It's a lot of psychology, but also, everybody wants to like replicate authenticity. Like if authenticity were a word, somebody would want to brand it and own the brand. Like that's the difference between someone who's authentic and someone who just wants to sell authenticity to make money. Like the guy who's authentic is authentic. The guy who's not authentic wants to trademark the word authentic and stop the authentic guy from using it, So there's levels to it. It's like that, people could try all they want, but they're just not going to be me. They'll be themselves. They'll have success, but it's just like there's a lot of that going on in the industry now too. So they're like, oh, that seems pretty good. Like, how can we copy that without doing it? But it's like, it's like so subversive and so sneaky. So it's whatever. Thank you, Teresa. I appreciate you. I'm glad you enjoyed the show. I'd love to see you partner with Candace after she finishes off with the Daily Wire. Those dudes are speechless. Me and Candace have a good relationship. Candace knows what I bring to the table. Candace, I think, respects me and appreciates me, and she knows what I've done for her, and I appreciate what she's done for me. So, I'm not really concerned about it. My aspirations are not like fame, and I don't care about that. And when it comes to money can be freedom and it can be slavery. If you care too much about money, then you're a slave. If you don't have enough money, then you might have to work for someone you don't want to work for. So like, I'm not trying to be the biggest in the, like, that's not my goal is not that, I want to do what's right, enjoy my life, be successful, and also not go broke, like, honestly. So I don't have the same aspirations as everyone else. So I don't even like every deal. Like if Candace said she wanted to do this with me, I'd have to consider it, just like vice versa with her. So, cause it's like, I don't like, people think I want all these things. I don't necessarily want them. So, that's part of the equation, as well as figuring out what I really want to do. I know what I don't want to do, and I know what people are trying to make me do or try to keep me from doing, but I'm really trying to center myself, my spirit, my soul, my mind, get my body healthy, and then make the right move. But I'm still debating what it even is. Someone said, I'm amazed Candace still works there. They have to be going thermonuclear behind the scenes. Candace is no joke. She's got a lot of leverage, a lot of power. And, it is interesting, her and Daily Wire, like the staff probably doesn't care that much. Ben probably cares a lot. It's very interesting. Honestly, if you're going to watch any videos this week outside of mine, watch Candace Owens' last two videos, the debate with the rabbi and her saying, people think I'm going to get killed. I think that's like the title of it. She wrote it. watch those two videos. Those two videos are more important than anything Patrick Bet-David said in the last 2 years, or anything Tim Pool said in the last 2 years, or anything Charlie Kirk's ever said, or anything Steven Crowder says, or even anything Alex Jones pretends to say and yells and sells his pills or whatever. It's like those two, if you watch those two episodes, that explains what's going on in Republican media more than anything else. And everyone knows it, and no one's going to talk about it. All these other idiots, they're not going to say a damn thing about what Candace said, and they don't have to. Everybody can say what they want. But if you watch those two, the one is the debate with the rabbi, and the other one is the one that I think it said, like, people think I'm going to get killed for this. I think that's the title. I mean, it's obviously like a clickbaity title that she used, but those two episodes are more important and more honest about what's really going on in Republican media and Republican politics than every video that Crowder, Kirk, PBD, Tim Pool, Alex Jones, Fox News, and all of these other people will make in the next 4 years. Like, literally. So you watch those, there's no reason to watch anyone else because they're not saying anything. It's all just like, oh, Trump, Trump, Trump. Oh my gosh, they took his money. Yeah, that sucks. I'm not saying you shouldn't talk about it, but that's what's really happening in Republican media, what she's showcasing. That's what's going on. That's what you can and can't say. That's who they want to hire. Like that. That's all of it. And everybody knows this who's watched me for a long time. I've been talking about this since 2019 and nobody believed me. And everybody thought I was lying or being jealous or this or that, or I just didn't like Ben Shapiro because he has more followers. I don't give a shit. I've been saying this. So it's very, now it's going to become a lot more popular as it has over the last year. So, when someone of her magnitude says it and tells her experiences, it becomes, he's just saying that, to like, oh no, that's literally what's happening. I've said this, how many people have been like, oh, you just want that. I'm like, dude, I don't look at people with more views and think I want that. I just want them to tell the truth. If someone's really good at what they do, like, I'm not like, say, like, I was going to say Kyrie Irving, it might be a bad example, but like, say he says something and it's super real. I'm not, say, let's just stick with the vaccine stuff. Okay. I'm not like, oh, I want to be Kyrie Irving. I'm like, thank God. You know what I'm saying? Like, thank God somebody 50 times as big as me is doing that. Somebody's got to do it. Like, I want to promote them and make them more wealthy and famous. Like, because he's willing to go against the pharmaceutical industry. I don't look at people and think I want I just think, like, if they're not going to do it, then I'll do it. That's the whole reason I got started with this. When I was young, I wanted to be a professional poker player, a battle rapper. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted to make websites. I never wanted to be a news analyst. I liked marketing. I still like marketing. I wanted to make commercials and jingles, and like, that's what I wanted to do. I never wanted to do this. I did this because I was just annoyed at everyone else. I'm like, they're not doing it right. Get out of the way. I'll do it. You know what I'm saying? So when I see people doing a better job with more followers, I'm glad, I just don't see that all the time. So if I critique what I see in Ben, it's not like, oh, I'm mad. It's like, I don't agree, which is fine. That's the internet. It's just like when people actually say it, you're like, yes, now people will believe me. Someone said, you're the man, An0maly. You should take a page out of Owen Benjamin's book and start banning people from the chat. I could, but I don't, it's not that big of a problem. If it was a big enough problem on Twitter, I banned a lot of people for being annoying, but on here, I feel bad. I like yelled at 2 ladies, but it's like, stop talking to me like I'm an animal. Like, oh, you're all about yourself. It's a question and answer, lady. It's like, what, like, where do you think you are? It's not like I'm on a gardening network on television and I'm talking about like something else. It's like, it's my show and it literally says question and notice. I feel bad when I talk to people like that, but it's just like, at the same time, get out of my face. What's my go-to poker game? I mean, I like Texas Hold'em, but I don't really play anymore. But I do want to go to like the pro events again at some point. Thurman Merman says, thank you, Thurman. I appreciate criticism. He says, Thurman says, you tell people not to act the victim, but you go on every damn live stream and tell people how bad you have it. You're a douche, fake followers on Facebook, and that's why your YouTube is stagnant. Facebook, I do not have fake followers. I've never paid for anything. What are you saying? I'm not saying I've you're not even right. I don't come on here and say I have it bad. I always say I'm grateful, I'm appreciative. I'm just like, let me plug this link real quick because I don't really run sponsors and ads. So here's my sponsorship and ad of the day. I'm not saying I have it bad. I don't have it bad. I don't think I have it bad. I never said I have it bad. I'm not playing the victim. I'm just simply posting a link that would help. There's a way I could say that I'm a victim and that this is so bad, but that's not what I'm saying. And then I also go on like a 5-minute tangent of explaining like, financials. Like if you like a news corporation and they have $1 million and the other one has $5 billion and they eventually just swallow it up, it's like that's the trajectory of how the media is going to operate. It's not I never said I had it bad, and I don't feel like a victim. And after this live stream, I'm not going to shed a single tear. I'm going to enjoy my day. Dave Hootman said, you cry about money. You cry about me crying about money, which is even weirder because it's not your show yet. You complain for hours on end, hoping to get attention here. But no, I'm not crying. I'm just simply speaking. I don't know. Am I selling a new line of hats? Not right now, but no. Like, I don't get it. It's just like, I could be a lot more upset about it. I'm not like, when I saw that Facebook demonetized me, I was out somewhere and I was just like, oh, this is annoying. But I don't even get that annoyed because I'm like, this has happened so many times. I'm just over it. I'll just make money elsewhere. And that's what I said today. I'm like, all right, they're taking tens of thousands of dollars. I'll just make my money elsewhere or I'll lose that money. It's whatever. It's not like I'm like, I'm just like, here's my link. If you want to work with me, I'd appreciate it. If not, someone will. It's okay. Am I designing the new merch yourself? Yes, but I'm in the very pre stages. It's way more difficult than you guys think. Like, it's easy to sell merch, but if like I'm going quality, I'm trying to be like quality material. Like I'm really like taking my time. So like I can't work with 99% of the merch out there because I'm trying to do it a specific way. So it's very difficult to even find what I even want. Unfortunately, but it's all good. Julius said solitaire is underrated. Appreciate you, An0maly. God bless you, brother. Solitaire is popular. I never got into it, but I play chess on my phone. But I know like a lot of the OGs, they play solitaire. I've played, I believe, but I was more of like a Minesweeper guy. When I had a computer, I never went solitaire. I went straight Minesweeper. Someone said, I just saw a guy crossing the street on a bike hit a curb and eat shit. LOL. Well, let's think about that in our head and we'll all laugh together, okay? Damn, hope he didn't get injured. Anyway, people will hear that and be like, yo, he's crying. Like, okay. Like we could do, if you've ever gone to a bathroom and looked in a mirror, if they have mirrors on both sides, it's like a maze. You're looking into like 1,000 mirrors because of the projections or the reflections rather. That's kind of like this. It's like, okay, I'm not crying, but let's just say I am. I'm crying about money. I'm not. I'm just hypothetical. I'm crying about money. Dave cries about me crying about money. Someone says, Dave, you're crying. Now they're saying that Dave's crying about me crying that I have money. Then he says, no, you're crying. Like it becomes like a mirror where we're just staring into the abyss. So it's better to just shut up, it's like, it's better to just not go there. Cause then we just all are just following like I'm not even saying I'm crying about money, but like what's worse, crying about money on your own live stream or listening to someone cry about money for 2 hours and then crying that they're crying about money while you're crying in the comments on their show when you could be doing something else. Like, like what's really worse? It's a crying Ponzi scheme. It absolutely is. Someone said Democrats are Mexicans. Wait, Mexicans are Democrats or Democrats are Mexicans? Hold on. Sorry. I know you didn't mean for this to be funny, but it just was. I'm gonna read the comment again. Sorry. Democrats are Mexicans and they're turning US into a third world country. I get what you're saying, but it's just worded kind of funny. Like all Democrats are Mexicans or Democrats are Mexicans. Democrats are using some Mexicans. Sure. Democrats are Mexicans. like analogy, or I don't know. I kind of just got lost in the sauce. Brenda said, I love listening to you. Thank you. She said, you make this old lady smile. I appreciate it. Sometimes like I'm not, I have an older audience, especially on Facebook. I hate to like argue with people, but when like someone like 55 just starts talking shit to me, I just start talking shit. And then I feel bad because I'm like, I don't want every older person to think I'm talking about them, because I'm not. But it's just like, you're a liberal. I'm like, I'm tired of hearing that. Like, I don't even talk, like, it's like if you challenge their narrative, they just say you're a liberal. And it's like, just stop, like you don't, just stop, Anyway, I could have been a little nicer in hindsight. Mexican is just a funny word. Mexican food is addictive, somebody said. Kirk said, my Mexican wife is so hot. I don't know why that's so funny. Like someone says Democrats are Mexicans and someone's like, I love Mexican food. My Mexican wife is hot. You're like, Mexican's a funny word. It's like, I'm not here to say what is and what isn't a funny word, because I find certain words funny as well. And I'm not trying to get in trouble for them. What denomination church do I attend? I don't feel like getting into it. Never mind. An0maly, the haters talk until it's all good. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. Someone said Mexicans are very Christian, family oriented, and not into trans anything. Here's my question, because I don't know, because I'm not from Mexico, but I'm sure we have somebody from Mexico here. We have a very diverse podcast, but why is Mexico, like, what's the power dynamic in Mexico? Like, how did it get that way, right? You got a bunch of people that are like more Christian, family values. How did Mexico get to the point where like the cartels run things and like the government's weird? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure how that happened. Maybe I should have someone on to like fully explain it. Someone said there's a lot of trans Mexicans, said Alpha Buckeye. I don't know about that. I mean, in Mexico or here, or, I don't know. I've never done a trans Mexican study, but I guess I could look into it. Then I'll be like Republicans pushing Dylan Mulvaney. They're like, I don't like trans music videos. They're like, I'm going to stare at Dylan Mulvaney with my binoculars and I'm going to look directly at Dylan's bulge for 5 years. And I'll tell you what I find. And you're like, you're like, it's kind of funny where they're like, I don't like Dylan Mulvaney. You're like, for sure. And they're like, Dylan Mulvaney's a man. You're like, whoa, okay. And they're like, in order to prove that, I'm going to stare directly at Dylan Mulvaney's bulge for the next 3 years and promote everything they do and tell you how much I don't want to see it. And you're like, it's a little gay. It's a little bit gay, but okay. It's like, how are we going to stop Dylan Mulvaney if we don't promote them? It's like, by not promoting them, you could critique something without sharing it in people's faces 15 times a year. Can you not? Like, it's like, how are we going to stop Dylan Mulvaney if we don't stare at the bulge? You're like, by not, like, you have to do that to stop Dylan Mulvaney. Like, yeah, we have to post it on 50,000 Republican pages to our audience. I swear, a Republican page I follow on Instagram, it must have gotten like 500,000 views. And I'm like, I guarantee you that Dylan Mulvaney's music video got more views on Republican pages than their own page. It's not even a question. If someone shares my music video and it gets like millions of views on their Instagram page, I know about it. And I'm like, oh, they promoted my video. Like, that's cool. That's more views than I got on my own video. It has 20,000 views on YouTube. Dylan Mulvaney is probably thrilled that Republicans are promoting it. Like that. Now Dylan Mulvaney, when they go to sponsors, can be like, my new music video got 5 million views. And you're like, where did they come from? Republicans, but they'll still get that money. Like, dude, Republicans are so gay. It's crazy. Like, it's just kind of funny to think about, but they're like just staring at bulges all day. It's just like, we need to like, we need to investigate this stuff. And you're like, what are you going to do to investigate it? They're like, stare at it for 12 hours and promote it constantly. Like, is that going to stop it? They're like, stop it. They're like, who said we're trying to stop it? You're like, I thought you were. No. We're just investigating. Oh my gosh. That's so funny though. But like, I listen, once in a while I get like weighing in on it or playing it. Someone said, I sound gay. No, I'm just joking about it, but you can think what you want. It's just, You don't get the point I'm making. Like promoting that video 1,000 times is pretty gay, but whatever. You're like, it's gay to not promote it. It's way gayer to not look at it. And you're like, all right. Like it's really gay to not give that influencer tens of millions of views so they can then use it for sponsorships. You're like, whatever you got to tell yourself. Someone said Daily Wire will not shut up about Dylan Mulvaney. They promote it. They make money off it. It's like the left and the right like each other. Daily Wire, Dylan Mulvaney, they make a fortune off of it. They promote it. And then they keep people in the false paradigm because it doesn't have really that much to do with like what's really going on. And the second somebody talks about something that matters more than Dylan Mulvaney, Ben Shapiro will just call him anti-Semitic. So it's like that's kind of part of his shtick. Is like it's like when I watched Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin was calling for shutting down protests in foreign countries over Israel, which goes against everything he's ever said because he's a total phony like everybody. But then everybody started figuring out that he was phony and he was getting ratioed in his comments. So then like he's not popular when he speaks his mind about what really matters to him. So then like Dave Rubin went back to like pointing to the left and then everyone likes it again. You get what I'm saying? Like that's kind of like they're like, they're like, we need to bomb children. You're like, whoa, like we need to shut down protests. Whoa. And then you're like, that's crazy. And like 99% of their audience is like, you sound like a psychopath. And then it's like 3 days later, people like that will be like, but look at the left. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, the left, he's on our side. Like, that's their whole business model. I figured it out 5 years ago because they're like, the First Amendment's important. You're like, yes, we should be able to speak on a college campus. Yes, but we're also going to pass these speech laws and say that other people can't protest. And you're like, so you don't believe in anything you say? And they're like, no, we just tricked these dumb, stupid Republican boomers by yelling Trump, Trump, Trump and posting Dylan Mulvaney videos. It's like that's their whole shtick. It literally is. Anyway, someone said LOL, dude. Well, I'm glad people are laughing because that's the whole point of this. I'm trying to be funny. My opinion on the Don Lemon, Elon Musk interview, I didn't give it a single. Actually, I heard one part of Don Lemon saying like that Elon went on an apology tour, but I don't think it was to Elon Musk. When it comes to the Elon Musk and Don Lemon interview, I've watched 0 seconds of it, and my life is great. So I don't want to give Don Lemon any attention. I see people on Twitter too, people that I like. They're like this orange will get more likes than Don Lemon. Okay, but you're still putting Don Lemon in the name. I'm not saying you can't talk about people, but it's just like I don't think Don Lemon deserves attention. I haven't given Don Lemon attention in 3 years. I haven't cared about what Don Lemon said in 3 years. Today, I still don't care what Don Lemon says. I don't care what he says about Elon. I don't care what he says about war. Nothing he says matters to me. So I just ignore him. I did post like a little 5-second clip because it was funny. But besides that, it's like it's like the whole dynamic between that debate is like people like Don Lemon, I just don't want to give them attention because I don't want them to get another job. Like I'm not trying to oust him. It's just like, the more attention I give him, then probably someone like PBD Podcast is going to hire him and they'll be like, Don, we Patriots, we're hiring Chris Cuomo and Don Lemon. Look, we have both opinions. Look, left and the right. Look, it's like, no. I'm not dumb enough to believe that. So yeah, I haven't watched it and I feel good about it. Like I keep seeing it in my feed and I just scroll right past it. I'm like, like Don Lemon said this about Elon. I'm sure he did. He's full of shit. I still think Chris Cuomo's full of shit. I just think he's pretending because he knows Republicans are easy to make money off of. And in order to be controlled opposition, you have to be reasonable because if you don't seem reasonable, no one believes you anymore. If you can't trick people, then there's no point of working. Look, Chris Cuomo's coming across as reasonable because he got fired from major mainstream media. Nobody wants to hire him. And he has no career. And there's more people listening to podcasts like Joe Rogan. So he's pretending to be reasonable so people there are stupid enough to believe him. And Patrick hires him. It's not reasonable. He's just like, oh, where's the money? Where's the people? Where can I stay afloat? Oh, yeah, I had an epiphany. Like you can't tell the difference between someone had an awakening and someone who had an awakening just to make money. It's so obvious. How to find out who runs my congressman's pocket. I want to say the best website for that, I believe, is opensecret.org. Who's your congressman? Let's put it this way. Mr. Super Chat, $2 Super Chat. Throw nickels at me. No, I'm just kidding. Every dollar counts. I'm just playing. Who's your congressman? I'll tell you who his sponsors are, because I could look it up on here. It'd be interesting. 467 Sprite. And you don't have to do another Super Chat. I'll find your comment, or I'll try to if I don't. Tim versus Patrick is hilarious. I'd rather watch like The Rock versus like, a WWE fighter, no joke. But I'm sure it was funny. I'm just like, what's my view on Tucker? He does some good work. I like Tucker, but I can't say everything all the time, but I like Tucker. Oh, Lou Correa. Got you. All right, let's look up this guy. Lou Correa. So Lou Correa, a Democrat from, he's a local Democrat, so he probably doesn't make as much open secrets. They don't have to pay off the local guys that much. All right, campaign finance summary, Lou Correa. Got you, my guy. So he raised $670,000. He spent $478,000, and he's got $1.754 million on hand. His top industry in 2023 and 2024 was, you guessed it, the pharmaceutical industry, because they pay off everybody. So he got $46,500 from the pharmaceutical industry in the last year, and that's his number one sponsor. Interesting. Let's see who else. Let me see specifics. Let's look. He got money from attorneys, American Crystal Sugar, International Paper, New Democrat Coalition, Eustace Kwan Family Foundation, lobbyists, 20,000. I want to see the exact lobbies. Let's see. How do I get to that? There's like different pages I got to click, but it is interesting. Let me see. I'm going to go back real quick. Okay, ready? So in 2024, he got, are you guys ready for this? That guy, Lou Correa, he got $45,000 through Act Blue, $27,000 from New Democrat Coalition. He got $7,000 from Pfizer. He got $10,000 from America Bankers Association, $10,000 from Credit Union National Association, $10,000 from American Sugar. Top vendors, top committees. Target Enterprises. Oh my God. Oh, no, that's never mind. Those are just top committees. Anyway. Yeah, interesting. But yeah, isn't it funny that his number one contributor was the pharmaceutical industry? I'm not joking. Every time a Republican now, when they tweet, I stand with Israel, I literally just go to I just like search it, and it's like their number one contributor is AIPAC, which is like Israel. It's like, I stand with Pfizer. And you're like, cool. Like, and then you go and you're like, they got paid by Pfizer. You're like, okay. And then people will say it's hate speech to say that that's happening. It's like, it's literally like, if you stand with a country, like, where are you standing? People don't realize this. They think you're just being hateful. They're like, oh, you just hate that country. It's like, what does it mean? Like, I stand, like, should I stand up? I stand with Poland. What do you mean? I don't know. I stand with them. Are you in Poland? No. Are you going to fight in their military? Oh, heavens no. What are you going to do for them? Stand where? Stand here with them? Yeah. How is that going to help? I don't know. So what does that mean? I stand with Ukraine. Are you going to fight in their military? No. Then you're not doing shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, what does that mean? I stand with Israel. It means they got paid by Israel. Like that. It doesn't always mean that, but I've just noticed the trend, like standing with a country. Like, if I stand with America, I guess I stand in America. I'm sitting in America. It would be more accurate to say I'm sitting in America right now, and I like America, but I don't feel like joining the military. Like, it's not like I stand with them. I've told people this for 3, 4, 5 years now. All of these Republican influencers that say Israel, 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 they're getting paid by donors and lobbyists. Charlie Kirk will be at some donor thing with like Israeli donor symbols behind him. And he'll be like, I stand with Israel. You're getting paid, bro. You're at a donor meeting. Like, it's, Like, should I go there and say I stand with them? It's just like a pay to play thing. It doesn't mean you even like them. Like Mike Pompeo likes them. Like, how much do you really like them? Who was really speaking about Israel when they were, facing vaccine mandates? Like all of a sudden, all the Republicans that got paid by Israeli like stuff, all of a sudden they have nothing to say about Israelis. Like they don't give a shit about Israelis. They like Israelis about as much as Democrats like black people and Mexicans. It's just like they like you as much as they can make money off you. They like you as much as you vote for. Like they're not doing like, and then everyone falls for it. They're like, look how great of an ally they are. They're just getting paid. They're just standing at a big donor meeting, sucking up the money. And that's what Trump does too. They all do that. They go to these like events and meetings where they have these big like things behind them that says the exact donor, whether it's AIPAC or, the American Zionist Organization of America or whatever. And they have all their symbols behind them at the press conference, like they're at a Hollywood, gala. And then they're like, I love your country. And they're like, and everyone's like, they're really loyal. I'm like, yeah. Just like they believe the science, right? They trust the science. It's like, it's just all so dumb. That's why with like condemning, it's like, what does that mean? Like I condemn? To condemn something, that means that I have to think that I matter enough to say that. Like I condemn. Do you condemn the events? Yeah, but what the fuck does me saying something about it have to do? Like I have no systemic power to stop a freaking foreign war. If I did, the world would be at peace. It's just like, do you condemn the events? Do you condemn the tragedies? Do you condemn BLM? Do you condemn the racists that were at Charlottesville? Yes, I'm so sorry. It's like, what is my words going to do? Yes, I condemn all hate in the world. Where is it still there? Oh yeah, it is. Why? Because me condemning doesn't mean anything. Standing, I stand with my black brethren. Where? Here? I'm sitting though. Stand with who? Like which black person? What black organization? Like what does this mean? Everything's so fake. Like everyone's condemning and standing. It's like none of it means anything. It just means like I'm afraid to get called anti-Semitic or racist, so I'm gonna just say what I'm literally pretty much being told to say before something worse happens. It's like someone said I condemn Miracle Whip. Agreed. It's just not mayonnaise, and we got to stop pretending like it is. It's a very white thing to do, by the way, condemn a fake mayonnaise, speak about playing into stereotypes. You kind of just ousted yourself there as a Caucasian. No, I'm just kidding. But I could say that because I'm mostly white. Some Cali rep Cali flags is lined in yellow, not red. I'm guessing that's for Ukraine, That's probably that, right? They're showing their support for Ukraine so they could just funnel money there. I do condemn Miracle Whip as well. Now I'm gonna get like an email from like Miracle Whip. They're gonna be like, "We heard you condemned us." It's a lawsuit in the making. I'm like, "Oh no, I'm sorry, sorry, Miracle Whip. I didn't realize you were such a powerful lobby." We should start a fake theory that all Caucasian politicians are being lobbied by the Miracle Whip industry. And we should like freak out about it. And then everyone's going to think that it's like a real thing. You're like, dude, you're not listening to me. You know how big pharma contributes to politicians? Dude, the Miracle Whip industrial complex is buying off all the Caucasians. They're all sold out. They're all trying to say Hellman's isn't good. They all are trying to get rid of mayonnaise as we know it. You're like, are you sure that's the top issue? I'm like, dude, trust me. The reason you've never heard about it is because they blackmailed everybody that won't talk about Miracle Whip. Just a thought. That could be fun. Oh no, opensecret.org. Just Google the guy and then like the donations. Like we'll go to Dan Crenshaw real quick because Dan Crenshaw always says he stands with Israel, right? Dan Crenshaw, he stands with Israel. Wow. I'll just search that contributions. Actually, I put Dan Crenshaw top contributions. The first thing that comes up is opensecrets.org. Yeah, you don't have to. Let's see. Okay, so I just searched Dan Crenshaw, right? This is what I typed into Google. Dan Crenshaw top contributions. The number one contribution he got in 2023 and 2024 was $29,000 through American Israel Public Affairs Committee. So that's his top contributor in the last year, is an Israel lobby, essentially. They say they're not, but I don't know. So it's like, dude, it's a lot easier to stand with a country when you're getting money to do that, like, dude, I'll stand with freaking, give me like, I'll stand with Pakistan if you give me $30,000, No, I'm not saying I really would, but it's like, You're like, I stand with Uzbekistan. You're like, why? You're like, because they gave me $29,000 to do that. Yeah, I bet Kazakhstan might have a budget for that because, you know, they're trying to put themselves on the map. Like, I stand with this country. Like, how dare you criticize my greatest contributor? You're like, what did you say? You're like, I meant our greatest ally. I'm like, no, you said greatest contributor. No, that's hate speech. I got to pass a law to stop you from saying that. It's like, okay, Dan Crenshaw. Dude, Dan Crenshaw gives me the most villain condescending vibes when he talks about stuff. He talks so like douchey. I just do not like the guy. He's like, oh, you're like a great. You're like, all right, bro. Like, tell us more about how Pete Davidson got you here. I don't know. Just kidding. Anyway, let's move on. Someone said, I stand with chocolate. Can I get some now? Yeah. Talk to Hershey's or something. Although that's not even, get a better brand. I'm going to stand in the corner with baby, said Empav. I don't mind watching an occasional Weinstein brother hold on fourth string theory, but at some point you realize these cosmetologists are just sort of pitching it as your new spiritual advisor. No, you're totally right. No, I get what you're saying. Dude, someone cracked me up earlier because they were like, hold on, I gotta get myself composed before I mess up and ruin my career. Dude, I'm only one error away. Every day I go live, I think about this. I'm one typo away from just throwing away my whole career. One mistake, and I'm going to cancel myself forever. You know, you make one false move when you talk about other ethnicities, and it's done. But someone was like, the blacks are really waking up in America. They're like, I was listening to Brett Weinstein's podcast, and I'm like, dude, I'm not. Brett Weinstein seems like a really nice guy. I'm not even shitting on his podcast because I don't know much about it, but I don't dislike Brett Weinstein. With that being said, black people do not listen that much to Brett Weinstein's podcast. I'm not saying everybody. I'm not saying no. I'm not trying to be stereotypical, but like that's like the least black podcast everywhere. It would be like I watch Breakfast Club. Black people are really waking up, or like, you know, I went to this event with 100,000 Black Coalition of America, and they're really waking up. Being like, it'd be like I listen to Lex Friedman's podcast. The South Side of Chicago is really waking up. You're like what? And I'm not trying to stereotype, but there's no way demographically more than 1% of Brett Weinstein's audience is black. But, you know, maybe I'm wrong. I just don't see it. Like, I'm not even black, and I'm too black to listen to Brett Weinstein's podcast. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I might be like 0.001% black or something. I don't know if I am, but like I'm too black to listen to Brett Weinstein's podcast. Like, it's too not black enough for me, if that makes sense. Like, it's just like, he's like, now we're going to talk about for 4 hours the string incident and why you should believe in the cosmos. We're going to talk about the cosmos and climate change and how Pfizer lied to you, but how you should believe what I'm saying about the cosmos. It's like, you're just like, you know, it's like, we get it. Brett Weinstein knows that Pfizer lied, and that's awesome. And, you know, he really knows they lied during COVID, and we like Brett Weinstein, but I don't need to hear this stuff. I don't remember which Weinstein brother it was, Brett or Eric. I want to say it was Eric Weinstein. But when I lived in LA, my buddy was like, I got tickets to go see Dave Rubin's stand up. Do you want to go? And I'm like, not really, but yeah, I'll go. Yeah, that sounds fun. You know, and I watched Dave Rubin stand up. Not very good, but whatever. He was just drunk and being like weird. But anyway, Dave, cool. And they had a question and answer, right? And it was like, ask us questions. Ask me and Eric Weinstein questions. And I asked a question about climate change because for some reason, conservative Dave Rubin had Eric Weinstein promoting climate change at his conservative comedy event, which was like, whatever. I'm not saying you can't hang out with liberals, but like, why is Dave Rubin hosting some climate change moron to tell me about that? But anyway, I asked Eric Weinstein, either I got the question answered or I asked him to the side of the stage afterwards. And like, I can't remember how it happened, but he was like promoting climate change. And I said, I just went through all the data that I had. I was like, what do you think about under some of the glaciers that are melting? Because he kept talking about like melting glaciers. I was like, they found active volcanoes under some of the glaciers. I was like, some of these have been growing for the past 3 years. And like, I just kind of questioned what he was talking about. And I had like facts and stats and NASA stuff. And he was just like, no, yeah, that's possible. You know, so it's not to say that he knows nothing. But like, I'm just personally, I'm not into like the pseudo intellectual former liberal professor that now figured out everything I knew about Pfizer 2 years later. And now they get to go on at Tucker Carlson's podcast. Like, it's not a competition. I don't really like, I feel like the discussions he's having are just so like low level. It's like, he'll talk about the cosmos for an hour, and then he'll talk about how he just figured out that Big Pharma was lying, even though he was wearing gloves and masks for 2 years. And now he just finally figured it out. And the cosmos, because of course he doesn't just believe in Jesus, and, you can't say that he should. So it's just like the cosmos and, climate change. But he's one of us because he knows that Big Pharma is lying. It's just like a big snore to me, Yeah, he's like a former liberal professor. It's just like, I like Brett Weinstein. I think he's a nice guy. It's just like such a snooze fest to me. It's like, better than listening to like Rachel Maddow, but I'm just personally like not impressed, but whatever. Someone said An0maly can dunk. He black, said Jesse Lee Peterson. He black. That's Jesse Lee Peterson. He goes, he black. He goes, not all, but some. Dude, Jesse Lee's pretty funny. He should have a soundboard, where like he could just be like, he black, not all, but some. Yeah, Jesse Lee, he's a spiritual white, No, I'm just kidding, but Jesse's funny. As they called, what did they call Larry Elder, the black face of white supremacy? That was funny too. I mean, that's not funny because that's just like total crazy perspective, but like Larry Elder, they're like, he's the black. I think it was the LA Times who wrote that, the black face of white supremacy. Hold on, let me look that up. Let me see. Larry Elder, black face, white. Oh yeah, LA Times column. Larry Elder is the black face of white supremacy. You've been warned. What a bunch of freaking idiots. All right, now let's see. LA Times, jobless, fired. Oh, LA Times this year had to lay off 115 people. Oh, that sucks. Did that guy get fired? The one who wrote that Larry Elder was the black face of white supremacy? Here, a bunch of liberals got fired. Maybe Patrick Bet-David will hire them all the writers who wrote that, give them a job to tell Republicans that they're getting both sides of the story. Both sides of the story is like Eric Weinstein just ranting about cosmos and, liberal and then it's like, and then you have like Ben Shapiro telling you how you need to funnel all your money to a foreign country or you're anti-Semitic. And then the left wing will be like Chris Cuomo. And it's like, see, we're getting a diverse discussion. And Lex Friedman will interview Mark Zuckerberg. And now nobody needs to interview Mark Zuckerberg. Lex Friedman did it for all of us. He asked all the questions we need to know. Let's seal that one up. You're like, okay, Anyway, this is one of my top streams ever, said Brendan. Appreciate it. I've gone for 2 hours and 40 minutes, so it's good to know that it's not shitty, because what a waste of time that would be. Am I right? If this sucked, you just wasted 2 hours of your life and it wasn't even good. I mean, can I get a money back guarantee? Am I right, guys? Thank you guys so much. Maybe that's what they were doing when they were trying to hire me on the podcast. Like, they were trying to see if I would be that type of person where they say something not funny and then like all their co-hosts have to laugh. They're like, anyway, they're like, 2 zebras walked by my house yesterday. And I was like, geez, zebras, does everything have to be so black and white? Dude, it's crazy how funny I am, right? And they're like, dude, you're so funny. Oh my gosh, yeah, dude, yeah. We're getting the left and the right. That's so funny. Black and white. Oh my gosh, black and white. It's almost like it makes gray. You're like, yo, shut the fuck up. I told you not to talk without me. Read the sign. It says clap. And you're like, oh. All right. Please clap. My brother was George Bush. He started a few wars. Please clap. My family said maybe if I run for office, I might be a good boy for the Republican Party. I seem nice. I mean, I'm no George Bush or anything, but I like to read books. Where's Waldo's an easy one. I like to read books and just sit in the corner next to a fireplace wearing a sweater. I'm just Jeb. I'm not that bad. I kind of like Jeb Bush, not because of his policy. I just thought, like, when he ran, I thought he was funny. I was kind of rooting for him, like, outside of politics. I just thought it was like he just looked like like a nice, like, calm uncle, that like just has like grilled cheese for you when you go over. You go to Jeb Bush's house and, hey, made the grilled cheese with the butter like you like it, and you're like, oh, you didn't have to do that, Uncle Jeb. I kind of was feeling his campaign. I didn't listen to a word he said. I can't even think of one policy that he had. Just the sweater vibe, like he just reminded me of just a nice sweater wearing guy. It's a shame big bad Donald Trump had to just kick him out of politics forever. He really had a bright future. Someone said An0maly's comedy is so good. Appreciate it. This is like when I don't even want to get into it because I'm just going to sound douchey, but like when I see all these other media organizations just like pass up on me and hire people, I'm trying to be objective. I'm like, they're not funny. They're not interesting. They're not good at what they do. They don't like what is it there? But then it's like you watch, like you see some like amazing artist, and then like Sony Records will sign somebody that'll be like, my pussy green. It's like St. Patty's Day. St. Patty's Day. Smoke on my J and rob my neighbor. And you're like, what the fuck was that? And then they're like, oh, that's the new artist. That's that's Sexy Green. You're like, Sexy Green? They're like, yeah, we're really, we really want to bring the hood to Ireland. So, we're making her green. And you're like, I'm not trying to sound like a hater. I don't get like who's listening to that or like why you're signing them. But, there's an audience for everybody. It's like, that's just how I feel with like the media. I'm just like, they're not like, I don't know. And even like people's co-hosts, like they're funny. Like they're funny in a room of no funny people, but like, they're not, it's like, it's like, here's the Republican podcast, or like, did you see this thing with Trump? And then like all the co-hosts will be like, yeah, that's bad. Yeah. The left is the bad and the right's the good, and the right, the rhinos. And then everyone's like, and then they'll have like fake liberal opposition, and they'll be like, well, Trump kind of sucks. He doesn't suck. You suck. And they're like, oh my gosh, did you see that epic debate between those two people on the podcast? I mean, oh my gosh, like the left winger and the right winger. And it's like, yeah, I totally never seen that one before. That's crazy. Like, I like Candace's new podcast. I told people to listen to them. I didn't listen to a minute of the Chris Cuomo thing, and this was before they signed Chris Cuomo. It's just like I don't like. I get it. Like, Candace is conservative. Chris Cuomo is a mainstream media shill. It's just not interesting to me. I don't. It's just like I don't get it. Like it's like I don't want to see that, but people do. I just don't. Someone said the bloodbath on Tim Cast. Let me guess. Hang on. I don't know. Ben Shapiro. Tim Pool's like, how does Tim Pool sound? I'm trying to think. He kind of talks like Ben Shapiro. He's like a more Caucasian suburban Ben Shapiro. No, but he'll be like, oh my god, a bloodbath. Oh, civil war. Oh my gosh, a bloodbath. They said bloodbath. Oh, bloodbath. Oh, and there's gonna be a bloodbath. Oh my gosh. I'm wearing a beanie. Oh my gosh. You're like, yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, they said blood. Like he said bloodbath, and then the left said he said it, and then he said he didn't say it, but he didn't say it like that, and they said he did say it like that, and then Tim Pool said that he didn't say it like that, but there's a civil war coming. Yeah, dude, it's this content's really making me smarter, and then smarter. And then he'll have on somebody honest like Liam Cosgrove or whatever, and Liam will be like, did you notice that there's like a foreign country lobbying all of our politicians? And Tim's like, oh, shut up. Oh, shut up. Who cares about that? Oh, who cares about that? I mean, what are you going to talk about? Yemen, Afghanistan? I mean, and then like Liam Cosgrove's like, it's not like that. He's like, it's like this lobbying group just lobbies more politicians than Yemen and Afghanistan. It goes like, oh my gosh, civil war. Oh my gosh, beanie. Civil war. Oh my gosh, civil war. Oh my gosh, please don't talk about Israel. Oh my god, it's like, what's the point of like Liam Cosgrove is like, I'm not singling them out to be hateful. It's just AIPAC pays lots of money. Like it was Dan Crenshaw's number one contributor. If Dan Crenshaw's number one contributor was like the Afghanistan political alliance, and he was like, Afghanistan, we got to do what they want to do, then I would say the same thing. But it's just not that way in U.S. politics, and everyone knows it, including Tim. So like, what's the point of watching his show? He's like a little prick. He's condescending and rude to everybody. And anytime he has like an honest guest on, he just yells at them so douchily for being right. And then he covers it up. Oh, you want to talk about that country? Oh, why don't you want to talk about Japan? And it's like, I know you like either Tim has like shit for brains or he's purposely covering up. I'm not sure. He might not be smart. You never know. Like being good in business and being smart is not the same. Like people can get rich and be stupid, but he might be dumb. He might be smart and just a douche. I'm not really sure. I just don't care. Like I see every time I see a clip of Tim go viral, I'm just like, yo, this guy sucks. It's crazy, but whatever. He's so mean to Ian. Dude, didn't Ian say he was like suicidal recently and like tweet that out? I don't know. It's just like he's like, Tim's like, here, I'll have a co-host who knows nothing about politics so I could just treat him like shit all the time. And Ian's like, I hate my life. And Ian and like Tim's like, isn't this fun? Like, why doesn't Tim get some like really intelligent co-host? Because it's like it's this weird thing where I feel like he doesn't want that. He wants people that make him look smarter, but he's not that smart. Like Tim, if anytime Tim has a smart co-host on, all the comments say, oh, that guy's way smarter than Tim. Like when Tim had Milo on, I didn't even watch the episode, but I did go to the comment section. I know it's very petty, but every comment was like, yo, Tim just got cooked by Milo. Milo just cooked Tim. I'm not saying you got to like Milo, but like Milo's way smarter than Tim, whether you like him or not. And everybody realized that. So I feel like it's a power play where since Tim's not that smart, Tim has to like pick co-hosts that make him look smarter, which is like, you got to really go bottom of the barrel. And I'm not saying Ian's a bad guy because in a way he is smarter than Tim just by not knowing that much and just saying basic things that he thinks of. But it's like, you know, that seems to be the case where it's like surround yourself by people way dumber than you. So then everybody perceives you as some sort of like wizard genius. And it's like, it's so obvious to me because like the co-host is literally like trying to explain like the relationship between America and Israel. And like even his co-host, I'm like, who is that chick? And she's just like, oh, and she's like yelling with Tim. And I'm like, this show fucking sucks. Someone said Adam would cook him. Yeah, that's probably why he didn't get to be on the show anymore. Because like Adam got too smart over time. Because like I think he came into it. I'm not saying Adam wasn't smart, but you know, I don't know how much he did politics or whatever. I don't think he did politics at first, but then as Adam was there for a while, he probably was learning a lot and he's a smart guy. So then he obviously just got like way more honest than Tim. And then, you know, it's like, all right, well, it's not going to work, dude. Someone said, I think Tim is fairly intelligent. He just has a non-academic presentation. He truly lacks all humility and it shows. For example, the Tim Ballard fiasco. I didn't even see that. I don't give these people that much time a day. I only find certain clips, but I kind of I try to not be like that. The guy that comes to my comment section and complains for 5 hours. It's like, if I don't like something, I just don't watch it. And I'll try to like weigh in on stuff now and then, but I'm not going to like watch it every day. Someone said I left for an hour and he's still talking about PBD. No, I was actually talking about Tim. So you left for an hour, you came back and you're wrong. Try again. Someone said Red Pill America has already blown the lid off of Tim Ballard's grift and Tim raised $50K for the guy. Oh yeah, that's the thing. Like, listen, Tim Ballard followed me on Instagram and, you know, I tried to interview him. He didn't answer, but I'm not going to, I don't care. I just was like, oh, maybe I could get the interview. But that's the thing. Like when that movie came out, I hate to say this because I don't know. I always sound like people are like, oh, you're just being a hater. You're this and that. But like, I don't believe everything just because everyone says it, you know? And that's a strong point of mine. Or a bad point, but like everyone does certain things. Oh, 10,000 mules is the best thing. I don't think so. 10,000 mules is revolutionary. I don't think so. 10,000 mules proves this. I also don't think so. I don't think it did. I never thought it did. And I was like the only one who thought that. And then I can't talk about it for 2 months because everyone's going to cry. You don't want to beat election fraud. I do. I don't think Dinesh D'Souza did that. And I don't think that I don't think that that is a good step to get cell phone ping data. Like, I don't, all of that stuff made no sense to me, but like everyone just believed it because they were told to. I never did, but whatever. With this podcast or whatever it was called, this movie, what was it called? The movie that was funded by the guy who funded Hillary Clinton or something. It's like one of the backers was backing Hillary Clinton too. That was a red flag, but I was like, whatever. Okay, this is a movie about child trafficking. My first thought was not like, oh, I got to watch this movie 10,000 times and then we're going to beat the deep state. I'm thinking like, is this a real movie? Is this a controlled movie? Is this going to do anything? I'm not saying I hated it or I cared, but like I just never like I was, oh, we got to watch this movie so many times to beat the left. And I'm like, to me, something seemed off about it. So I just ignored it. And I talked about it once or twice, but I was like, where did the movie take place? When I found the plot of the movie in the country it take place in, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen in other places, because it does. And it's just as important and it's just as crucial to talk about. But to me, it's like, what's the big situation in America that got covered up? Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and their connection to American politicians and global politicians. What is this movie about? Not that. I'm not saying it has to be about that, but it's like, it's basically being like, oh, making people think like, oh, human trafficking, it's happening in other countries. It's like, it's happening here too, but also it's happening bad in other countries for sure. But it basically like used the premise of what's going on, but then kind of like pinned it on another country and totally, didn't involve other aspects of it. But it's a different story because there's different types of human trafficking and it is real, and everybody doesn't need to do what I think. So I'm not tripping over it. I never made a huge statement about it. I just was thinking it to myself. Like, it's like you watch an episode and you're like, was that funny? Was it not? Everyone has their own opinion. That was mine. I didn't talk about it that much because I couldn't think of it. And then with the Tim Ballard stuff, like some people started questioning it and other people said, oh, shut up. Why can't we ever win anything? And, I listened to both sides and I stayed out of it because it's not really my place. But I was like, I don't know, like, because it has nothing to do with this guy or anything, but it's like any organization, just because you say you're doing something doesn't mean you're really doing it. And just because you raise a bunch of money doesn't mean it's all going to that. I'm not saying him. I haven't really fully investigated it, but I've always just thought this way about everything. It's like, just because an organization takes your money doesn't mean it's going to get done. So something about it just seemed off to me the whole time. But that's what Republicans do. They don't do investigative analysis. They just go, oh, that, like, Tim Pool is a headline reader. He's like a rock. He's like Patrick's house in SpongeBob. He's like that rock as a human being with a beanie on. And if like a movie comes out that's good for a headline, Tim just yells about the headline. He doesn't give a shit about whether it's true or not, whether it's helpful, whether it's real. It's just like, how can I make money off the headline and capitalize off the people in the film and bring them on my show to make more money? So he's not like thinking about it very much. So I'm not saying this happened, but if Tim did raise money for him or that organization, it turned out not to be true. Tim doesn't care what's true. You know what I'm saying? He's an opportunist to do whatever it is. So it's like, if you move slower on these topics, then you're not going to make as much money, but you're going to be more accurate. It's just better to move fast on them. So with that whole documentary and all that stuff, I moved a lot slower than everybody else because I wasn't trying to make a big opportunity out of it. I understood that it like challenged the narrative and made a lot of money and had a conservative person behind it, but I don't know. It's like, it just reminded me of like 10,000 Mules. Like everyone just goes crazy over it, gives these people money and then move on to something else. I didn't see the movie. I'm sure, like, I guess this is another angle of mine too, is like, I don't really go to the movies ever. And I don't like sad movies. So it's not like it doesn't mean it's bad. It's just like people are like, you have to see this movie about human trafficking. It sounds like a terrible, like, I don't want to watch a sad movie about human trafficking. I know it's real. It's horrific. It's terrible. I don't see how watching a movie about it would be fun. Like, that sounds like a terrible waste of my time. Like, not a waste, but just like some women like, guy girl drama movies. Some guys like action movies. Some people like dark movies. Some people like to see The Ring. I don't like watching scary movies. It's not my genre. So like, to me, a human trafficking movie is like a dark, depressing, sad movie that's based on a true story and it's not even fully real anyway. So, I just, I don't know. I never wanted to see it. And I didn't understand why me watching that sad fictional movie based on a true story was going to change human trafficking in the world. Like, I don't even understand. It's like, we got to raise awareness. Like, everyone knows it just happened in front of our faces with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and nothing was done. And Trump allowed them to just like lose the footage of the tapes. Like, like if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know as far as in this country, and like, why do I need to see a fictional movie about it to raise awareness to something I already know exists that they've already literally just dropped the ball on purposely in everyone's faces, and not a single person can do anything about it? Like, that's where my mind goes. So it's like, all right, let me shut up so I don't lose all my friends, because it's like nobody's going to like me if I just talk shit about everything all the time. So, I don't know. Like, I did see Red Pill America do a deep dive on Tim Ballard. I listened to it. I considered it, and I don't know where that went or what happened, but I don't know that one. I didn't really have to backtrack on it because I never fully went on it anyway. So, when you're careful about what you say and accurate, I never, like, if you promoted it and then it went that way, then you really should cover it to make sure you didn't do the wrong thing. But I don't think most of these Republicans care. It's like this shameless, like, whatever I got to do. All right, let's keep this under 3 hours. Anything over 3 hours is just disgusting. So appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Tomorrow, I mean, I might do a show if something big comes up. If not, I might take the day off to work on some other business and get some other things in a row. Thank you guys. 3 things real quick. Dreamrare.com has hats, has shirts, has beanies, has white hats still. We have a few left. So if you want any of that stuff, dreamrare.com is the place to get it. Once all that stuff sells out, I'm working on new merch, but this merch is all good. Nothing wrong with it. I just, I'm just trying to go in a new direction, try some new concepts, maybe even get outside of clothes and do some other stuff that I find interesting. So is what it is, but that's where I'm at. Dreamrare.com, dreamrarebiz.com. 2 things. If you have a business, if you have a product that you think would be good for me and you want to sponsor the show in any sort of way, dreamrarebiz.com is the place to do it. And, also, I do consultation. So I've done it for multiple people for businesses. I did it for somebody in my county locally, and they've had a lot of success with it. So, I consider myself a top level expert at social media marketing, at actually figuring out what you want to do, how to do it, how to take these steps, how to make great content, how to market it, how to promote it, how to get in the right spaces to grow your business, get eyes on it, or your brand or anything. So dreamrarebiz.com. I enjoy doing consultation too, because I just want to let you guys know. I guess this is going to go over 3 hours. Oh, well. I was working on a course, right? Because everyone's like, where's your book? Where's your course? I got like burned out because I'm always doing computer stuff where it's like, oh, I got to make a course now. I got to film myself after filming myself. So with consultation, I don't have to do that because it's not like I'm filming myself and I give you a course. It's like direct on phone conversation. Like, it's more real. I'm trying to do like more real experiences, not just sit on my computer all day. So, that's what the consultation brings. And it's definitely more direct. It's more personal. I think it works even better than a course because it's like more specific and you can hear it and understand it. So that's what I'm doing for businesses. It's been great. I've done it for people that watch my show. I've done it for people locally. I enjoy the art of marketing and business. And I truly believe that I'm one of the best in that field because, I mean, proof is in the pudding. I got 1.67 million people on Facebook, hundreds of thousands of people on Instagram, hundreds of thousands of people on Twitter and YouTube. And, I built all of these platforms separately with different strategy and understanding. And, if you have a good product in any field, there's no reason that you can't succeed. There's probably a reason if you're not doing as well as you want. And there's a reason behind everything. So it's kind of like working back, figuring out what you need to do differently, and then doing it and then consistently doing it and doing it for months and years on end, to drive it home. So that's what it is. Social media consulting. I enjoy doing it. I think I'm good at it. And so far, so good. The last couple that I've done over the last couple of months, some people are working at a slower pace. So it's not to say it's not working, but I know that they're taking their time and they have different things to do. As for like the bigger businesses I've done it for that have a huge business model already, and like it's working extremely well. And I'm always thrilled because obviously I get paid either way, but you're trying to do great work and you want it to work well. So it's great to see when it does work well. And sometimes when it doesn't, it's not like it's necessarily my fault. There's a lot of things that go into it. Of course, the knowledge and the understanding of marketing and social media is important, but you could tell someone to do something, but if they don't do it and they don't do it consistently and they don't, jump over the hurdles, then it won't happen. So I love when everybody's just crushing it and they follow it and they get good people in their staff to kind of make the moves and it works well. That's always way more ideal. And that's been happening like a lot recently. So I'm always pumped about that. Dreamrarebiz.com. And for all my links, it's dreamrarelinks.com. Appreciate you guys. I'm out. And that's what it is. Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way is dreamrare.com. We have blue beanies, black beanies, pink hats, other colored hats, freedom versus tyranny shirts, stay blessed long sleeve, God is great long sleeve, and lots of more cool items coming soon. Dreamrare.com. Check out the shop to support. Everything's made in the United States. Handpicked by me. Patreon.com/raretalk for $5 a month. You can help support me, support the show. If you haven't noticed, unlike other channels, I don't work with very many sponsors, sometimes none at all. And part of the way I'm able to do that is with the dreamrare.com shop and patreon.com/raretalk. So thank you guys